those brothers out here, laying the foundation down for that element of hip hop. I just got to say salute to them, and I just wish, underrated people in the hip hop game that are foundational Black American will actually get, their props when you have other people from different genres, trying to take stuff from them, saying that they created this and created that. Just like I don't know if somebody said it earlier with the I think it was some African dude that said he created hip hop, but once I listened to the dude's music, I forgot who he was because Brother Tyreek was talking about it on a video I was listening to. He was basically doing like disco sounding funk music, but they were just trying to say it was like hip hop, but really it was just like African disco music. So when some of these tethers just talk out of the side of their lips, you just gotta basically regulate them. And I'm just gonna land my plane at that.
Appreciate that. Black Voltron, go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Kid Gravity. This thing is close. This hip hop thing is extremely close to my heart because, yeah, I am an old nigga. I'm 51 years old, and I don't need Wikipedia. All due respect to the caller said that I don't need Wikipedia, Google, or any other fucking social media site to tell me what the fuck happened to hip hop because I was there. Goddamn it, I remember exactly where I was when I first heard Rappers Delight. I was on 35th and Highway 13, Redwood High School, and me and my partners were sitting up there, fourth grade, and we were just fucking amazed, listening to the rapping and stuff like that. But we can take it back even further. I know somebody mentioned Chuck Berry, but I got to bring back, really the father of rock and roll, Little Richard. He was rapping. Long Tall Sally. Y'all remember that? He was rapping, y'all. We can take it back to Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf. They was rapping too, even though it was the blues. The blues was birthing R&B. R&B was birthing soul, funk, hip hop. All right, house music. We come on. I was there. I went to the fucking Fresh Fest in Oakland. Shout out to the 6ix9ine mob who was throwing niggas over the balcony at the Coliseum and started shooting and shit. 85, baby. Had Houdini and Run DMC and them. They was running like a motherfucker and shit at the Coliseum because niggas was shooting act the fucking fool. But I was there. I was at the Henry J. Kaiser Center, at the Public Enemy concert. Almost got jumped by some niggas from West Oakland. All right. I was fucking there. Can't nobody tell me shit. So all this old new booty shit that these punk ass rappers are talking about, I'm not trying to hear it. I was there. I lived it. I was doing graffiti back in 85, 86, 87, and 88. I was at 23rd Street Yards spraying and doing my pieces there. I was there when brothers was breaking over at Pier 39, over at the Castle in East Oakland by the Coliseum and stuff, bringing out their cardboard at Eastmont Mall. Niggas was busting rhymes on corners and shit at the sideshow. Okay, I was there. I was there for all that shit. Niggas was running around and stuff. They talking about speakers and shit, nigga. We was running around in them Nissan trucks, nigga. We was running around with the Cougs, with the 68 Cougs and 68 Stangs, the Granadas, the Cutlasses, the Chevelles. Nigga, we was doing sideshows back in 87, 86, 87, 88, 89. Before niggas started even talking about that shit. Nigga, I was at the sideshow at Eastmont Mall. I was in this hip hop shit. So all this old fake shit, no. We've not only do we have it documented, we was there. We were actually living this. All right. All I did was go to rap concerts, going to the Beastie Boys concert down at the Flint Center in Cupertino. I was there, man. You know, and you cannot take away from our foundational Black American artists. God damn it, Prince, Rick James, bitch. No, no, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Get the fuck out of here. Are you crazy? You trying to say that Jamaicans created all this fantastic music, all the genres of American music, from the old Negro spirituals on the plantations, all the way to the latest of this mumble rap nonsense and stuff. This was a foundational Black American thing. Bar none, end of discussion. We lived it. There's too many of us out here that lived it. All this old fake ass revisionist history, because that's what it is. Revisionist history, lies that they're going to keep repeating over and over again. And if you keep telling a lie over and over again, it's going to be some stupid motherfuckers that's going to just repeat the shit. because the fucking morons. But don't tell me a goddamn thing. I lived it. I was at all the Run DMC concerts and stuff. Even the last one with Jam Master Jay before he got shot and killed at the Greek Theater out here in Berkeley. No, partner, I was there. I lived it. I ate it, drank it, breathed it, absorbed it, and was it. Okay? No goddamn new booty Jamaican nigga, all due respect to you, Kid Gravity, gonna tell me goddamn Jamaica started hip hop. If so, where's the evidence? Show me the archaeological evidence. Show me the musical evidence that's in Jamaica where it started. Show me the last poets that was singing hip hop and doing rhyming and rapping in the '60s. Where's the Jamaican Muhammad Ali who was busting rhymes just before a fight? Where is the Gil Scott Heron of these Caribbean islands? Show me the Jamaican Gil Scott.
My bad. Sorry.
Nikki, you got a little excited. You got a little excited.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Voltron. Go ahead. Voltron, go ahead.
Unmute yourself, Black Voltron.
Okay. It's all good. Show me the archaeological evidence. Where are the Pygmy Markhams? Where's the Gil Scott Herons? Where is the Parliament Funkadelic? The Funkadelics. Where are they at? Where are the Sly Stones? Where's the Jimi Hendrix? Where is the Fats Domino of Jamaica? All right. Where is the Duke Ellington, Count Basie of Jamaica? If they're the Jubilaries, where are they at? Show us. They're not there because it doesn't exist. It's all a fabricated lie. With the system of white supremacy, you got these fucking white boys and shit, and these Asians out here, and these Hispanics making shit up, going along to trying to worm their way, parasites trying to get their way into the culture to change it and make it something that it is. Now you hear, you think of jazz, the fucking Kenny G, get the fuck out of here. Miles Davis was jazz. Wayne Shorter, Weather Report, was jazz, okay? Even though that was a multiracial group. Freddie Hubbard was jazz. Donald Byrd, word, he was jazz. Foundational Black Americans created this music. All the music of the Americas. You cannot tell me anything else because there's way too much musical history. There's way too much archaeological evidence. There's way too much. I got the goddamn records. My crates run deep. Fuck all that. And most importantly, again, I was there. I lived it. I'll land on that.
Black Voltron, thank you for stating that. I'll make it real quick. And we are grateful for the fact that you lived it and you actually did it, and you can tell us so we can try to have an idea of how to vividly imagine what that was like and to build off of that. Also, it's very important. You mentioned documents. It's very important that we research, get the document, and put it out so no one can, come on some funny stuff and try to latch on to any creation that FBA had introduced to the world. That's super important, very important, and we thank you for letting us know this.
Yes, sir. And I even remember growing up, I used to hear Jamaicans say that Michael Jackson must have some Caribbean in him because nobody can dance like that. And I had to roll my eyes even as a young teenager. Like that like you just know some things you just don't sit right with you. And I can see all the reactions. Yeah, this is New York. Like I said before, New York is way off code. But let's keep it moving. Brother Marcel, go ahead. And then I'm gonna get Skins Carter and then Ismail.
I also want to say, whenever there's crime or something like that, what's the first thing the mainstream anti-black, bigoted, whitewash media wants to do? They want to blame rap music. And when they want to blame rap music for it, they don't show black and brown and yellow and people of color. They always want to show black faces. When rap music is in the media for something bad, they don't want to give everyone credit for it. Then they want to put it directly on the laps of black people. But when rap music is getting props, like breakdancing becomes a genre at the Olympics, and rap music has been heralded as the most listened to, most consumed form of music in the world, All of a sudden, everybody wants to get credit for it. But when it's in the news because they're trying to associate it with bad things, the black faces are there. So, you can't have it both ways. Just like I said about Clyburn. You can't give him credit for the quote unquote good he's done, which isn't much, not any, if you ask me, but then want to absolve him of responsibility for the bad. So you can't give black people credit for rap music where you want to blame it for problems that society had long before rap music was a thing. But then when rap music is being the most consumed, hip hop's the most imitated culture, you want to try to give everyone credit for it. No, ain't nobody ever going to get the damn credit for it. It started with us. Had it started elsewhere, you will see it elsewhere, but you don't. You only see it here. And let's give ourselves some credit. I know as Americans, we're very nostalgic people. I'm not nostalgic. There's still good media being put out now. Now, what they play on the radio, I don't know. But I know a lot of my students, they listen to artists I ain't never heard of. Now, I don't listen to the radio really. So maybe these artists are on the radio. But a lot of them, they tell me, are mainly underground. But, kids always want to seem like that kind of culture. So they tell me, oh, Miss Dixon, no, he don't already get played on the radio. He's underground. Because every time I turn around, it's some person I've never heard of, but all the kids seem to know about it. We are innovative people. I remember from being a kid and now as a teacher, I can hear our kids, they form their little groups, they freestyle, they roast each other, they have singing groups, they write songs. I'm not saying that doesn't exist among other groups, but the level of creativity that exists among us, what other group just simply does what they do on a day-to-day basis and the whole world's trying to imitate you, dress like you, speak like you, dance like you, use the slang like you, do their hair like you. That is really only happening to black Americans. And I forgot, there's so many of our people that have had credit stolen from them. Like, Elvis was made to be this icon, but one of his most famous songs was taken from, I think her name was Big Mama Thorpe or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a black
That's
woman.
correct, sir. That's correct.
That's correct. Okay, yeah, it was a black woman, and then and I think she's the lady that people also credit being one of, if not the founding artist of rock and roll. But
That is
it
also
is
correct, sir. That is also
right.
correct.
So she doesn't. So a lot of times, women do sometimes maybe get overlooked in their roles, but she's been almost completely forgotten. And now you have video footage of her that has been unearthed. Really, I don't like saying it's unearthed. It's always been there. Someone just finally leaked it out, and it's finally being shown. So my thing is, we're very creative people. You don't see things we do that other groups imitate happening in other parts of the world until we do it. How you gonna tell us you started it when no one from where you're from doing it, and you weren't doing it until we started doing it? It's just the height of disrespect. And I do want to say what Moses said. He said the truth. If this had been in the 1990s or even the early 2000s or definitely the 80s or the 70s, this conversation will not happen. We'll be sitting here saying, we all black, black people did this. Now we're delineating. Ain't no black people did this. Foundational Black Americans did this. Black freedmen did this. This is a change of tides. And y'all, sometimes the tides start changing before we realize it. That's why sometimes people go in the water, and even people who know how to swim, they get pulled out there the current because they didn't know the tide was changing. The tide is changing. They are just not used to us as black Americans standing up saying, you're not taking you ain't taking that from us, or you owe us this. The tide is changing, but you still got cools like Tiffany Cross, saying black and brown. This was no damn black and brown. It was just black. And within black, we're going to specify that too. Black Americans, no other group. So yeah, this rooms like this are just a sign that tides are changing. We're no longer being black to death. We are specifying that we are a unique, special lineage that has a unique, special claim, and unique, phenomenal history.
Yes, sir. And I'm glad you came in because I needed that. I needed that socio-political perspective on it because I think that gets lost in the shuffle as well. We can just talk about, where it started, but someone like you can speak to the ramifications of not checking that kind of rhetoric. Before I let what's his name, Skins Carter go, whoever just requested to speak. I'm sorry I knocked you down. Just send me another request. I'm going to try to start rotating people out so I can get more people to talk because we're at full queue right now, and I want to hear other. I want to hear other opinions on this. But Skins Carter, go ahead.
I'll drop down.
All right, I
Hey,
appreciate that. I
what's going on,
appreciate
y'all?
that.
Hey, well, that's a hard follow up, Marcel. I mean, you hit so many different points. You hit it just now, but Voltron actually hit it too. The earliest group that I know of, or the earliest rap that I know of, I posted in a jumbotron, and that was the Jubileers. Now they were out of Florida, but the uh, the style that they used, which was patent Juba, or some people call it the Jubal Jew, or the ham bone. That originated. Well, they said it originated in the Congo. They bought it from the Congo to to Charleston, South Carolina. But that's where it started developing at. Like when you put the music behind it and stuff like that, and started rapping. Like it started off in Charleston. So I put it up in the jumbotron. Y'all check it out.
I want to add to that. Like, I'm not sure. I feel the same way because I'm from New Orleans,
Hmm.
and we chant down there, and they been chanting on the streets,
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
Black Americans, like they,
Hmm.
Black Indians. They been chanting, and if you go listen to it, it's called Indian. It's Mardi Gras music, Mardi Gras Indians. They rapping.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They
Yep.
been rapping.
Yep. Yep.
So I just think it evolved. It don't matter where it evolved, but Black Americans been doing it, before hip hop.
How many people like remember, like, I mean, there was always that one guy. There was always that one guy out of the group, who started beating on the desk, and tapping his pencil, you know what I mean?
Shit,
And
that was my mama and my uncles now.
right, right, right. So, like this whole Pat and Juba thing, and the Jubal Jew, like the ham bone, like that's what it consisted of. It consisted of, slapping on the chest.
No, I'm trying to
Uh
tell you something. We've been doing it in New Orleans too, way back when.
that's
It did
crazy.
not come from now.
But see, Nicole, let me tell you something. One thing about New Orleans and Charleston, they mirror each other.
Yep.
The cultures mirror each other. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yep.
A lot of people don't know that.
I do. I heard. I don't know it, but a lot of people tell me that.
Oh yeah, 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 definitely. Like like y'all got a French Quarter. It's a French Quarter in Charleston. You know what I
Really?
mean? Like it's a mirror image of each other. Like
Yep.
all the way down to the mulattoes. The Native Indians, all that kind
Yep.
of stuff. Yep,
Okay.
all that.
Yep. Okay. I lay my plan.
How you gonna land your plane on top of my plane? What the fuck?
You can land your plane.
You
Yo,
got
Y'all
me
she
on
put
crazy,
some.
that
Hold
one.
man.
on, she
I'm
put some
backing out
GTA
real
shit. She stole
fast.
your
How you
plane and
gonna
went
land your
out for the
plane on top of
landing.
mine? What the?
I look. You got me, my brother. You got me on that one.
Yeah, yeah.
That's one thing about
I
y'all
New
FBA. Y'all
Orleans.
know the mission. I give y'all credit. Y'all know the mission when it had to get done. But
Oh, by
let
the
me
way,
see.
I
Let me.
landed my plane, bro.
You sure she didn't land it?
Nah, yeah. Well, she hijacked
She
my
became
shit,
she became
passenger
you
fifty
became a
seven style.
co-pilot on your own shit.
Passenger 57 style. God damn.
But anyway, let's keep it moving. I appreciate y'all coming in and having this conversation because I was really gonna do a video on my channel about this, but I said, you know what, let me get more black people in on this. So let's get Ishmael. You can unmute your mic.
Thank you, sir. Peace to the room, to myself, and everyone that spoke. I appreciate the space. So my name is Ishmael. I actually have 23 years of music theory and classical musical training. I've played everything except for brass, and I engineer and produce, as well as film score and things of that nature. I wanted to speak to some of this because I'm noticing that this is happening. I know that a lot of people mentioned the Jubilaires, Chuck Berry, and those things, and those are all completely true and actual and factual. Another thing that I encourage people to look into is a book called The Half Never Been Told, where they actually mention, and this is a preface, right, into hip hop, but they actually talk about how descendants of chattel slavery would battle rap while they were in the fields picking cotton and things of that nature. And the Half Never Been Told mentions it has quite a long excerpt on how they were battle rapping, things of that nature. And that's the origins of battle rap in this country is through Black American descendants of chattel slavery, which I believe is in part an element of hip hop, especially because of the explosion of battle rap today and the battle rap culture, um, and how that has expanded hip hop. So I find it to be really just deplorable that people continue to cosplay things that we build and things that we do, and so on and so forth. And hip hop is no different. Um, and one of the things that I wanted to mention was simply, yeah, one of the things that I wanted to mention was the Half Never Been Told, and the record of the mid 1800s of the battle rapping. But I also wanted to piggyback off of the gentleman who mentioned Chuck Berry, and Marcel also mentioned her, Big Mama Thornton, who was indeed the mother of rock and roll, and a lot of her music, a lot of her, musical style, was stolen by Elvis. And by the way, for those of you who haven't noticed, nuggets. What's your order? I'm sorry.
I think she about to school somebody on hip hop. Go ahead. I'm gonna let her come back and finish her
No, I'm
point.
sorry about that. I'm sorry. I had to
Yes,
jump in.
ma'am. Were you schooling someone on hip hop?
Yeah. So
Yes, ma'am.
so I just want so anyway, one of the things that I tell people to check out is the Have Never Been Told in that excerpt that specifically talks about the battle rapping because that kind of segues into the country, the blues, the jazz, which all are an amalgamation of hip hop and hip hop culture. Hip hop is a global phenomenon. And one of the things that people like to forget is that when Black people create something or do something or are commemorating something, they like to forget where it comes from, and hip hop is no different. And so I just encourage people to check that out. But there's another thing I also wanted to say. There are prestigious universities all over the country that have studied the way that people in hip hop, and not just hip hop, but other genres as well, have revolutionized music. Now, two of those ways that we've done that is through harmonics and chromatics. Okay, so if you take an artist like Brandy, which is something that I've actually, said before to people, is that you should really, really study Brandy. If you love music, if you are a studier of music, you should study Brandy because Brandy does things with her voice um, on harmonic and chromatic scales that were actually invented by Black Americans. And it revolutionized classical music as well. And then you also see the fluctuation of quartets into orchestra, into concert band music, and that is as a result of Black descendants of chattel slavery, creating these genres of music, these harmonics and the chromatics. So much so that there are universities, music colleges, including the music colleges at Harvard, Stanford, Dartmouth, and even on the West Coast that actually use Brandy. And one of the songs that they use is Borderline by Brandy to study harmonics and chromatics and the changing of harmonics and chromatics in music, which was done by Black American descendants of chattel slavery. So when people try to cosplay those things, and me myself being a veteran, a 23 year old veteran of music, it's very frustrating for me because music is not only my life's work, but I have studied it intricately and meticulously studied it, and seen how they have tried to extrapolate things from what Black Americans have done, and rebrand it as their own. And it's very insulting. It's very disrespectful. And to the point that Brother Voltron made, it's really revisionist history. It's just not true. And so one of the things that I like to do is I utilize Clubhouse to have a room Wednesdays and Saturday evenings. It's a beats therapy room. I play only Black American freedmen music. We talk about Black American music history, music theory, and we play every single Black American genre ever made, everything from hip hop to bebop, etc. And then there's one last thing I want to say, and I'll land for folks. If you are curious, more about studying those genres of music that I think are very important for all of us to know, because we are in a process, or excuse me, we are in a period of where we really need to begin to gatekeep our culture and our identity, and disaggregate from people who are are comfortable with our ethnocide, our genocide, and our erasure, and everything that goes along with that, right? You can check out another book called Race Music. The book Race Music talks about everything from bebop to hip hop, and actually goes over the historical context of what was happening when those genres were created and who was creating those genres. And I think those are very important pieces of information for people to know, so that when this conversation comes up, in your individual lives or in other spaces, you can say, no, here are my tangibles that prove that what you're saying is bullshit. And not only that, you are cosplaying a legacy of people who, quite frankly, created magic out of nothing. And so you should show some fucking respect. You should show some respect for those people, because they did in 500 years what nobody else could do. And I'll land there. Thank you, and peace to the room. And I just real quick before I land, peace to Brother Marcel. I appreciate everything that you have done. I think you are the first authentic um, political candidate I've ever seen, like, really rally for freedmen. And I just appreciate you. And I just wanted to let you know that, sir. And I've landed.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate all that history you dropped. So do me a favor, put the link to that clubhouse room that you do. You can put it up in the jumbotron. Get some of the people over there to hear some of that music. So you can go ahead and do that. Let's keep it moving. Eric, go ahead, and then I'm gonna get CJ Willis and then
All
Stephanie.
right, thank you, brother. I just wanted to piggyback off what Voltron said. When it comes to like our music and history, I'm a collector of physical media, CDs, cassette tapes, 8-track tapes, vinyl records. When it comes to us listening to our music and knowing the history, when it comes to other people misquoting our history of music, I would suggest us getting back to like owning CDs and stuff, because it really take you back to a presence of time of actually getting in touch with the music. Because like when I listen to like vinyl music, the wax and stuff, just seeing it like spin around on my record player, I can get a very clear understanding of what this music came from and what the people was thinking of. So when you have people talking about they revolutionized this and revolutionized that, I can go in my room because it's like a museum of just all types of different genres of music when it comes to like different people, especially foundational Black American people making revolutionary music. So when it comes to like people misquoting our history, I would really suggest start collecting music so you can just hand it down to generations of your future grandkids, so they'll really truly know what this music comes from. Because in the next few years, I can't really see like physical media being like what it used to be back in like the 80s and the 90s and like the early 2000s. So I just keep my music for like historical, um, I just keep it for like history stuff. I really want to put some of this in like a black museum where I can just show like foundational Black American, artists from all types of genres for the future generations and stuff. And I would just land my plan at that.
Yes, sir. Hook up with Brother Tariq and donate to the museum. That's what he's trying to accomplish. You got to make sure that Black American culture is preserved. And yes, he did say he's going to put some non FBAs in there as well, but it's going to be dominated by FBAs because we know the dominant society loves whitewashing anything Black or taking credit for something Black because they put some money into it. So we have to make sure, and it's also incumbent on us. It doesn't take money, but we have to make sure we teach the young people because we know there's a lot of people out there that will influence them the wrong way. So, like with Brother Marcel, Nikki, myself, and everybody else in the room that has knowledge of music and other subjects, we have to make sure we teach our children and the next generations the right way. So when they do get bombarded with this bullshit, they can be like, no, because I have this receipt, I have this receipt, I have this receipt. Can you answer to this? And when they start to get the babbling, then they just walk away. Now you have a reinforced soldier that knows what it is. But let's keep it moving. Let me get CJ Willis. Go ahead.
Peace, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So a lot of good information has been said already. I came to the space late, so I don't know what's been said. I want to talk a little bit about where this is coming from and what kind of material they're using to get this information from. The first book written on the culture of hip hop, and when I say culture of hip hop, I mean the b-boying, the DJing, the rapping, the graffiti, that I know of, was a book called Hip Hop by a white journalist named Stephen Hager. Now I have that book. In that book, they talk about Herc, Bambaataa, and Flash as the DJs, right? And Taki 183 as the graffiti artist. They don't mention, the brother earlier was talking about Cornbread from Philly. I'm from Philly. So Cornbread, even the New York Times called him the king of graffiti back in like 71 or 72, I believe. Cornbread was the man who he came up with the idea of, or what he was doing was called bombing. Basically, he wanted to get the attention of this girl, so what he did was write his nickname all around the bus route that she took home. So she, every time it stopped, the bus would stop, she would see his name, like, oh, who's this Cornbread cat? Oh, dang, he's everywhere. And he started, instead of just doing the bus route, he started going around the city, and they call that bombing, when you go all city. He was the first one to do that. That's documented. So anyway, this book, Hip Hop by Stephen Hagar, basically, like I said, he was a white dude. He was a reporter. He talked to certain people. They told him, go interview Herc, go interview Bambaataa, go interview Flash. In the book, the other DJs who are mentioned only in passing, Disco King Mario is mentioned once. I don't think Flowers is mentioned at all. DJ Pete Jones is mentioned, but only as a mentor to Flash. And Hollywood is mentioned, saying that he was anti-hip hop. So that's where a lot of this information, a lot of things you see quoted from people saying, "Oh, Herc created hip hop," is coming from. So if you want to see where they're getting this from, get that book. It's called Hip Hop by Stephen Hagar, Hager. People have been talking about the early people who are rapping. People mentioned the Jubileers. There actually is a group before the Jubileers called the Golden Gate, another gospel group, Golden Gate Quartet. I don't know if people have heard that Preacher and the Bear, or they've seen the video where the people in the video where they're doing the song Preacher and the Bear. The music that you're hearing on that video is actually not the Jubileers. It's actually the Golden Gate Quartet's version. The Jubileers version is actually different. And the Golden Gate Quartet version came out in 1937. Someone took that Golden Gate Quartet version and put it to the instrumental to Rapper's Delight, because the cadence that he's using sounds like the cadence that Wonder Mike uses in Rapper's Delight. If you go on YouTube and look up Golden Gate Quartet Preacher and the Bear remix, it'll pop up and you'll hear it, the original song juxtaposed with Rapper's Delight. It's amazing. And it blew my mind when I heard it, thinking this song came out in 1937, and he sounded like a brother that came along in 79. Excuse me. Some of the other people that people were mentioning. Big Mama Thornton, definitely. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, she was rapping. Pygmy Markham, of course. Last Poets. Gil Scott Heron, who is half FBA, half Grenade or something like that. But he actually was kind of like, like a mentee of Last Poets. Other people, Louis Jordan was rapping back in the 40s. There are lots of people, man. There's lots of people that were rapping in the early days, 20s, 30s, and 40s. I actually collect old R&B, so I'm interested in what the sister Ishmael was doing. But I just wanted to kind of put that out there. I don't know if y'all had discussed this book. It's interesting to pick up, to see kind of how the story has changed. I actually need to go back through it myself because I just picked up a newer copy. I still have my original though. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of put that in the air and say that all the stuff I've been hearing is good information. I'm gonna go check out some of the information that's in the Jumbotron and the other things that people were talking about, especially that half has never been told. And I land my plane there.
Also, I put up Ishmael's. She has a club on Clubhouse. It's called Third Eye Radio. I put that up in the Jumbotron.
And can I just say real quick? The reason I started this is because I became gradually disgusted by people constantly saying, people who were not freedmen invented hip hop. And I'm like, what are we doing? Are we just lying on history? Like what like are we just gonna pretend like history didn't happen? So, I'm noticing that the complicity to our ethnocide and erasure is becoming more prominent. Yesterday, I saw a post by Afro L magazine of a Kenyan woman who was draped in kente cloth and is selling Juneteenth Barbie dolls draped in kente cloth. So shit like that shit's got to stop. And for someone like me, like I said, who's been studying music for 23 years, okay, and has the tangibles to back that, it's highly disrespectful to my lineage, specifically because we are a people who are experiencing a genocide and an ethnocide. So this for me is a way to give back to use my abilities to give back to my people and preserve our history.
Okay, so is there anyone else who would like to speak right now? Who was next? Was it Steven or was it NFT?
NFT can go and then I'll go.
Okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
cool. All right, sweet. Cause
Just
I'm at
make
work.
sure. Can everyone make sure that if you plan to speak, can you please raise your hand? If you don't know how to like keep your hand raised, let me know and I'll let you know how to do it. Okay.
All right, cool. Uh, Shout out to that one sister. Oh, she's still in here. Ishmael. I'm actually classically trained as well in double bass and piano, but I gave it up after college primarily because it's such a racist institution. I was just kind of over it. Um, but and also I'm friends with Guthrie, the author of Race Music. He is well, he just retired, but he was a highly decorated professor at UPenn, and he just dropped a new book. It's in pre-order right now, and he's also a cancer survivor. So let's try to support that brother. But for me, it's like one thing that wasn't brought up is when they instituted jazz studies in the college programs, it was all ran by white professors. And they tried to basically put jazz in a box. And they were putting out all these books like, this is how you play every jazz bass line, or this is how you play every jazz chord ever created. And it was a lot of racism in these institutions towards our music, and then they wanted to take ownership of it and basically watered it down. And it's like it was always like a big issue for me. I never ever thought that hip hop was created by non FBA people, but I did remember when they tried to give it to Cool Herc out of Jamaica, and luckily people took on the quest to actually debunk that, where basically he was just throwing parties, and I guess the party went really well, and somehow he was credited with starting hip hop, but we know that that's not the case. So I just wanted to come in and like we think about music, right? I mean, another reason I gave up on music, quote unquote, is because being a musician, the value of a musician has diminished, particularly because we're making music with machines and keyboards that have multi instruments built in them. So that started to lessen opportunities for work for musicians just through the keyboard alone. And then with the weaponization of music and the making instruments super expensive and taking the idea of tradesmanship and things like that out of our community, we kind of ended up where we are today. And I feel like I would like to see a resurgence in musicianship, not just in the church. Another reason I got into classical music, I never wanted to play in the church. I remember my mom asked me if I wanted to join the choir, and I was just like, I just never dug the institution of church music. There's no shots to that. But I ended up getting into classical, and I stuck with it because I was good at it. But I received so much racism um, through practicing that music. But the cool thing about it, at the end of the day, it is a trade that I'll be able to pass down. And I used to teach piano lessons, and shout out to the brother giving shots to Cornbread because I did live in Philly, and Philly is a mecca of music. Still to this day, some of the most sought after touring musicians are in Philadelphia. On top of some of the top artists are out of Philadelphia, but let's not forget about Philly Soul and the various studios that were iconic to the city of Philadelphia, which unfortunately a lot of those studios are no longer around because of gentrification and things like that. So we really do need to really engage with our music, not just hip hop, but also the instrumentation and getting our children back involved in music because music is a trade. It's not just a commercial entity. It's also something that is can facilitate culture and help to expand culture. So I just wanted to drop a little something in there because music means a lot to me, but and also the generation gap that was created in music when they stopped supporting black music and started replacing us with white musicians. It became this huge generation gap because in music you can play music your whole life. So when we look at somebody like a Miles Davis or something, by the time he kept playing, but the mass majority of black people were no longer playing. So that was another issue for me. I used to wish like, man, I wish I was the bass player for Miles Davis, or I wish I was the bass player for Jimi Hendrix. But unfortunately, by the time I was born, music instrumentation wasn't something that was widely used in our community. And as I got older and more conscious, I was always kind of haunted by my ancestors and then defending them in the classroom against these racist professors. So and which I suffered for. They gave me bad grades because I refused to not defend the true legacy of our music. So I just want to reiterate, as a musician, as somebody who is well studied in music, that it's important for us to sort of reach back and start to get back into the music, particularly like guitar. Like they pretty much got rid of guitar players. Like black guitar players, we almost don't exist anymore. And if you think about American music and fundamental instruments that help produce the music that we listen to today or that is imitated today, guitar was a big part of it, and they took that away from us. And I hope to see us get back into it. And I just wanted to add that, and I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Let's keep the room moving. Stephanie, go ahead.
I just want to salute Ishmael and NFT. You guys blew it up. I hope you guys connect outside of this space and get those brains working when it comes to music for the future. I just wanted to say we forgot a couple of other known artists that was very influential. And we forgot about Ray Charles. Well, no, we can never forget about Ray Charles because Ray Charles was heavily influenced by country western and Negro spirituals. And that's why he was able to create those beautiful melodies that we hear today, that we still continue to listen. We can still hear his music through other music. Kentucky bluegrass, honky tonk music, Robert Johnson, the man who sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads. Those are the people that heavily influence the music that we're listening to today. And I also posted something in the Jumbotron, a little known singer that no one has ever heard of because Elvis Presley stole his whole style, even down to the way he sounds. And this man goes by the name of Otis Blackwell. They pretty much erased him from the music scene and they gave Elvis his persona. So this man was pretty much blacked out and pretty much erased from the music world. So I put the article up there in case you're interested. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Long live Otis. Let's keep it moving. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, the one brother, he shouldn't be surprised by the views on jazz music. It was brother Dr. Claude Anderson who taught me that it was called jackass music, and this it's funny because even if you look at jazz in the old days, it was a much livelier and an upbeat type of sound. It really represented the spirit of black folks, the dance and everything that went with it. And you could see over the years how it got kind of watered down by the outsiders who came in and tried to put their spin on jazz. Okay, so that's always been done. And as far as country music, well, the cowboy culture goes with that. But the first cowboys were black men. Just look at the term cowboy, you know. And so they put those two things together, but that's all rooted in black history as well, you know. And Kool Herc, Kool Herc has said that he didn't invent hip hop, but he doesn't even appreciate people trying to put him out there like that. I think he takes responsibility for the break beat, and I think that's pretty much it. Break beat and giving parties, you know. But he's rejected that whole idea that he invented hip hop. And after Prince died, we're gonna get to Prince. He his works was so great, and I think Prince played like 18, 19 instruments or something. They said he was a genius, a musical genius. But one of the first things they did was a hit job on him to start to tear down whether or not he was really the prodigy that they said he was, because they immediately gave credit to the two Jewish people that was in his group. I believe the lady's name is Wendy, and I don't know the white guy's name, but I think they used to wear the nursing outfits, and they were a part of Prince's a group, and I guess some of the co-producers on certain things and played in the band that he had sometimes. But they tried to give uh, uh, much of the credit for a lot of his creation to those two individuals. So they are slowly tearing down Prince as well. Now, the young people, y'all got to be careful, because I look at this Nipsey thing and I know a lot of the players that's involved. And a lot of our young people, they believe a lot of these folks that they see on the internet. You know, don't believe everything you see. And sometimes some of these individuals get elevated because a lot of us who grew up with them and know them, we don't have much of a voice. We don't involve ourselves with certain things no more. But these people ain't who y'all think they are. Okay. And I had to teach my sons. I was talking to them about that today, you know, particularly about the individual cowboy. Don't fall for it. You know, I know these individuals. Okay. That's not what you think it is. And with my neighborhood particularly, I'm off 108th and Western. Okay, this is like one of the golden areas as far as LA hip hop go. I grew up 2 streets away from Ice Cube, a street away from Dub C and Crazy Tunes. DJ Pooh stayed right across Imperial and Van Ness. Uh, Sir Jinx, Dr. Dre's cousin, he was a producer and a DJ for Cube as well. He's from the same area. Uh, Battle Cat spent a lot of time in that area as well. So my area is rich with West Coast hip hop. And I would like to see the people on the West Coast really start to assert themselves and just really start to kind of, I guess, speak on our contributions to the craft and music. A lot of LA history kind of gets lost. I don't know why, but there's a lot of groups, a lot of music. 103rd Street Band, just all this different stuff has come out of LA, and maybe because it's so many different communities, there's no kind of cohesive, I guess, unity among
You
it.
know what
But
it is, brother, and they don't like to admit it. It's because they tie it so much with the gang culture. They don't want that as a. It was basically gang culture they couldn't control, so they can't. So they don't want to
well,
acknowledge it.
but that gang culture is very rich. I mean, there's dancing and rapping within that gang culture, believe it or not. I
Right,
mean,
but like I said, they can't control that. Like they can control the East Coast side of the gang of the gang banging and all that in hip hop. They can control that. Y'all's LA gang banging, that's just as synonymous as y'all's LA hip hop. So
yeah,
yeah, that you
yeah,
saw what they try to do with Jimmy Iovine. They try to use him as that buffer to it, and you saw how NWA treated him on that. Like
yeah, man. But
you can't. They know you can't erase LA hip hop. Because LA hip hop spawned like how many gangster rappers over the years.
well, the
But
one
again,
thing
it's
about
that East Coast West Coast
when
thing.
when you come to the West Coast, I mean, from the Bay down to LA, you're going to be dealing with very strong personalities, very strong individuals that push back. And I'm not talking about with regards to music. I'm talking about even in the streets. I'm related to a guy that actually killed a police officer in the '60s, and Robert Shapiro was his attorney. Okay, so we have a strong defiant culture. When the riots happened, the police rolled up and got up out of there. They didn't try to fight back. So this is what we're used to. And this is why when you start talking about reparations, you're gonna hear some of the loudest voices come out of places like LA or Oakland. You know what I'm saying? Or Houston. You're gonna hear that. And see, I stay in the South now. I moved here about 12 years ago. Very strong black community here, FBA. But we do have a very thriving Nigerian community here as well. And they distance themselves from us. I notice it. And so with that, I know people got something to say. Y'all take it easy. I'm just gonna keep listening.
Yes, sir. I appreciate your contributions. Yeah. Respect LA hip hop, folks. And like I said, shout out to Tariq when he sets up the museum there. He said there's gonna be a whole wing and a whole section on LA hip hop because he does know that the mainstream does not like to lionize LA hip hop because, groups like NWA and Ice T took on the government and said, "Yeah, we're gonna make this music, and if you don't like it, kiss our ass," essentially. And you know how they love the police, and they said, "F the police." Like even to this day, you play "fuck the police" around cops, you might get your ass pulled over. I'm just saying. But when they come up to the window, that's when you turn it down. I'm just saying. So if any cops in here, I said what I said. But let's keep it going, brother Marcel. Go ahead.
So yeah, I wanted to bring up a point about how if our music was always packaged in with other aspects of the culture, whether it be language, whether it be dance, but also style. I mean, you look at how Billie Holiday, she popularized wearing the big flower in her ear, and you look at how like Adele, who don't got no type of style at all, but how she tries to like imitate the way Billie Holiday and Nina Simone used to dress, wearing those like gorgeous gowns and things like that. And when NFT spoke about racism in classical music, I'm not surprised because I love Nina Simone to death, and she spoke about that a lot in her upbringing. That's one of the things that embittered her about life. She was poverty, first of all. She grew up poor. Her parents were enslaved, and she grew up dirt poor. And she couldn't afford to go to Juilliard, so she tried to go to a school there in Philadelphia that's called like the Juilliard of I guess like the common person. And she believes that they discriminated against her because she was a black girl, a dark-skinned black girl from the South, North Carolina, and they rejected her. That was her belief. And even though she went on to have a thriving jazz career in jazz and soul, she still doesn't get the credit she deserves. as a civil rights icon, nor as a person of music, which Nina Simone has been very influential in the culture. So I'm not surprised to hear that. I want to say another thing that's happened is I think we have gotten lazy as a people. And what I mean by that, I'm talking about when it comes to us consuming music. It's almost like we expect the radio to hand feed us. And the truth of the matter is, there are so many talented Black artists who are not on the radio, may never get played on the radio, don't want to be on the radio because they want to have complete artistic control, and we don't support them. So when we talk about, oh, music sucks, that's because we're listening to the same 5 to 8 artists that the radio is playing. But we're ignoring the glut of talented artists who are underground, who have careers that they've made for themselves in the realm of music, who still do instrumentation, who still do soul and jazz. My mother used to take my siblings and I to jazz concerts and soul concerts all the time, and I would have never heard of these people. And my mother would tell me about them, and they had thriving careers. Some of them have been singing like this for decades, raising their families. So we got to stop thinking just because something doesn't play on the radio, that means it's not worthy of our investment, or that means they haven't made it. A lot of artists, especially our artists, Black music is always at its best when it is underground. That's why the 70s was so damn cool, because Black music was still mainly in the chitlin circuit and has still not gone mainstream. So when it finally did start going mainstream in the 70s, that's why the 70s is like heralded usually as one of the golden ages of music. And I'm one of the people who thinks that music, as far as quality, it comes and goes. You have your good years, your bad years, whatever. But my point is, there are artists out there that we can support. I also want to, I know this is not quite the topic, but there's lots of indigenous forms of Black music. And when I say indigenous, I'm talking about forms of music that exist within different cultural enclaves, like here in the Low Country. And I want to say this: anybody's in New Orleans, you're gonna be mad, but meet me outside. You know, I heard Nicole in here, so you're gonna have to meet me outside on this one. I know they
Yes,
tried
I
to.
want some heat. Bring it.
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm ready for it today. I mean, so they like to say jazz and associate jazz with New Orleans, but I'm kind of glad Creme de la Creme mentioned it, that jazz also was developing in Charleston, South Carolina at the same time as New Orleans, and that is a fact. You can look up the Jenkins orphanage, which was an orphanage of mainly Black boys, because Black kids were hardly ever taken in orphanages. They hardly ever ended up in orphanages because usually the family took them in. For those that did, there was nowhere for them to go. So, and they started doing a form of music that at the same time now we will call jazz. That's why Dizzy Gillespie is one of the premier jazz icons, was from South Carolina. So jazz is not something that is just unique to New Orleans, Louisiana. It also had developed at the same time in Charleston, South Carolina. But there's a form of music here in the Low Country among the Gullah Geechee called the ring shout. And it's not mainstream. It's usually only done by older people, but it will just make you think how many forms of music that's not mainstream exists that Freemen do, foundational Black Americans do, that we don't know about. So we really do have to preserve our culture, learn about our culture. I'm not pushing anyone to go to church. Sometimes you will find these forms of music in the church, because the ring shout is usually something that happens during religious ceremonies and things like that. But it is important for us just to be able to pass these cultures down. The same way we have cookbooks that pass down recipes we ate growing up, we need to have, in a sense, a musical book so we can pass down our forms of musical genres, or else we risk losing them. I'm not talking about the mainstream genres like jazz and soul and R&B and rap, but some of the little studied, less known forms of music like the ring shout here in the Low Country.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that little bit of history. I didn't even know about that stuff. So you just educated me, and this is what we need. We need to be educated on things that we might not have any knowledge of. But yeah, Marcel over there is trying to start with New Orleans, boy. Okay, Marcel, I gotta ask you this before I move on to Afrobeat. Which is better, the tomato okra gumbo or the gumbo they got in New Orleans?
tomato okra. I mean,
There it
I'm
is.
offended. I'm offended you had to ask that. Everyone knows the
I
gumbo is
listen. You
better.
know, the way you talking, you and Charleston, y'all might have a down south war going on. I just want to know.
We're planning it. We got to do barbecue at wars as well. So we're planning all those things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate that. Um, let's move it on, brother. Afro Elite, you were in the building, and you come from Chicago, to where they have a very rampant uh raps hip hop scene. So I need you to speak on that too, because the Midwest ain't been getting too much shine up in this room today. So go ahead, brother.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't been getting enough shine.
Well, they still mad that the pizza sucks.
You and this pizza, man. You and this pizza. You can tell he's obsessed. Every time I'm in a conversation with this man, he's always bringing up pizza.
Pizza,
He's
pizza
jealous.
is the food of
He's
love. You know
jealous. He's
that.
jealous.
How am I jealous of a 13-pound pizza when I could just get a slice and keep it moving?
You know, if you don't like something, you won't bring it up all the time. Have y'all
I
noticed
love
every
deep
time I'm
dish.
in a
It's just not
conversation
better
with
than
this
New
man, he's bringing up
York's.
my pizza?
Yeah, he does that
I
because he knows
love
that
deep
Chicago has
dish.
the
It's
best
just
pizza.
not better than New York's.
No, Chicago has the best pizza, sir.
All right, now you
Thank you.
listen.
Thank you.
Now
Thank you.
listen.
We're
Just because you live
certified.
an
Come
hour and a
on.
half away, don't do that, Nikki.
No, Nikki know what's real. Nikki a real one. Come on. Don't do that.
All right, brother. But anyway, enough about the food. Let's talk about the Chicago hip hop scene, because, like I said, Midwest ain't been getting enough shine. So,
Um,
go ahead, brother.
no, it hasn't been. I've been for the last few years, I've been trying to study as much music history as possible. And the more I study, the more I realize I don't know as much as I thought I have. So I like to listen to conversations like this. I'm trying to listen to conversations as far as Chicago music itself. But I will say that in Chicago, it's like, as far as the let me say something, because I'm starting to realize how much I actually don't know and how much I need to learn about Chicago music. But to piggyback off of what Marcel was talking about, as far as artists and rappers not getting enough shine because they're not mainstream, and they're not getting enough support because they're not mainstream, that happens here in Chicago quite often. You have a lot of rappers who are very talented, very skilled. Their verses are very well put together. Their flow is pretty excellent and smooth. However, they don't get the mainstream support. There's a lot of rappers that you don't hear about them until they pass away. That happens often in Chicago. Once a rapper gets shot, then people are like, oh, well, who is this person? And they look him up, and they saw that this brother actually had some real talent. A lot of times, because Chicago has a stigma of being like a war zone, the war zone of America, a lot of times these rappers, to catch on in Chicago, they have to rap about gangs and shooting people and doing all of this stuff, despite the fact that they're not connected to it, despite the fact that that's not really what they wanted to do. I know a couple of them personally who started rapping, and they would rap about conscious things. They would rap about empowerment, really. And then they would realize that that wouldn't catch on. So they would pivot the consciousness to talk about killing people and all this and that. And then next thing you know, they're starting to get more traction because, unfortunately, the degenerate music is what is promoted in our modern times. So that's really unfortunate. And the more I'm starting to learn that, the more I'm starting to see you do have a lot of ghetto element because music is a reflection of the environment. However, there's a lot more to Chicago music, not just as far as rap and hip hop. There's a lot of other elements to Chicago music, as far as jazz, as far as house music. Um, I used to work with this older gentleman who was a DJ, and he's was it yeah, it was called house music. He taught me a lot about house music and how house music was a big thing in Chicago back in the day that nobody wants to talk about. Everybody wants to talk about Chicago's rappers, King Von, Little Dirk. If you guys know who those people are, everybody wants to talk about the Chicago music like that,
Hey,
but
Afro, I'm
nobody wants
sorry.
to.
I'm I thought house music started in Chicago. Actually, that's what
It
I
did. It
was
did.
told.
And
Oh,
and
okay, yeah.
and he didn't. And I didn't even know that till he told me that. So I only found that out about a year or so ago. That's how little I knew. So now I'm starting to realize that I need to learn more and study more. But he used to go around in different places in Chicago, different venues and events, and he would play house music. Not only was house music something that started here, house music was very popular here. So was jazz. Jazz was very popular here. Chicago used to be very diverse with the music that was played until modern times. Then the environment kind of changed the direction of how people portrayed their music. Now all of it became this um gangster rap music, which I'm not going to necessarily bang on, because that is, even gangster music is a reflection of somebody's environment and of modern times. You can look at NWA and then you can say that's gangster music, but that was a reflection of the conditions and environment that they were going through at the time. So I'm not here to demonize gangster music, but I'm here to expound on the fact that Chicago is more than just that. Chicago is actually very diverse with music, if you understand the history of Chicago
Yeah, sir.
or Chicago's music as
Yeah,
so.
Chicago has a very rich history of music. I mean, a lot of the jazz players, if they didn't get to go to New York, they would go to Chicago. Like they would do tours in like Alabama, Mississippi, and Arkansas, and then shoot right up to Chicago. They would do recording sessions there, and put the music out there first, because you had a lot of FBAs from the South that were in Chicago that would push that kind of music, so they could get their music out to the North in that Midwest enclave a lot quicker than being on the Chitlin circuit and waiting for the records to come out. So yeah, Chicago has a very rich history
Yeah,
of
and
jazz music.
to finish before you, because you touched on something that a lot of people don't address. A lot of people who are from Chicago, they have their origins or their family goes to the South. My family specifically goes to the South, and I'm sure, and most of the foundational Black Americans who are in Chicago, who are native to Chicago, their family actually can be traced to the South. So Chicago and the South have always had a very strong connection. Chicago and New York has also had a strong connection too. So that's one of the reasons why Chicago is so diverse with music, because a lot of people from different parts of the nation would come to Chicago, and they would be able to play different music from different, you know, areas and different regions of the country, foundational Black American regions of the country. So that's why Chicago has, like, I'm not going to say like a perfect mix. I'm not going to big up Chicago because I'm from here, because I know that seems kind of biased, but Chicago is very diverse and balanced with music. And I wish people would kind of put more respect on that. I wish people would actually go back to that. And Chicago, even still today, has a balance of music too. If you go to certain clubs and certain events, you will see a lot of, house being played or jazz being played. You have to go to certain places in Chicago in order for you to listen to that. But the mainstream tries to market Chicago as a war zone. So, of course, they're going to promote any gangster music that comes out of Chicago. And I land there. I see other hands. So I'll land there.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Appreciate that you bringing up the Midwest, because there's four sectors in this country. Everybody knows that. It's the West Coast, East Coast, down south, and the Midwest. And we know the Midwest does not get a lot of shine because everybody just knows Chicago. But you got Bone Thugs. We got, I ain't even gonna say the white boy name, but we know who I'm talking about. But we got partners up in D12. We got a lot of battle rappers come out of the Midwest that make great music. So yeah, we got to put more respect on the Midwest name. But let me get Cress Welston and then Lawrence and then Black Voltron.
Hi. How are you? I wanted to, I came in late, so I don't know if anyone spoke of him, but I think one of the greatest influences in Black music is Don Cornelius, and what it took for him to put Black music on national television, but it became a global influence. And I know that personally, having had my mom who migrated to this country legally from Jamaica in 1960. Um, I know that every Saturday in Jamaica. At the time, they only had two channels. One was all church and news, and the other one only came on Saturdays, and that was for Soul Train. Soul Train was the biggest thing to hit Jamaica on Saturdays. I think it was at 10 o'clock. Everybody was quiet because everybody was at home watching Soul Train. And I was born in the Bronx. I grew up in New York City. We used to get calls or letters from my mother's side saying, we just saw, LTD on, Soul Train. Can you get me, the record and send it down? We used to ship records down because they just listened to the music. It blew their mind. The fashions, Don Cornelius was so important on so many levels. This man was up against, what's his name, the guy from American Bandstand, I
Dick
forgot his name.
Clark.
Dick Clark, one of the biggest racists ever. Okay. And Don Cornelius helped to put black music on the forefront and created people's persona, helped them to skyrocket. He was brilliant, and bold. you know um, I worked in the music industry, and I had success in the music industry. And I think if you haven't spoken of this other region, I had the great pleasure many years ago in the 90s to work with Scarface, to work with Pimp C and UJK, work with 8 Ball and MJG. You talk about Chicago in the very beginning stages of Common's career, and these were all great people that I respect and admire. And the hard work that goes into and the dedication that goes into their successes is beyond anything that we could even comprehend. My boss was Russell Simmons, and I had the great pleasure of looking at careers of like Busta Rhymes, Method. Um, uh, you know, there's a lot that I could say, but these people were, and still is in my book, just some of the greatest. As a little kid, you talk about the Bronx. I remember as a little girl growing up on 138th and West and Webster Avenue. Um, you know, we would be out 2, 3 o'clock in the morning as kids in the playground when you had all these DJs to come, and they would hook up their sound systems and stuff at the base of those light poles and everything in the parks and parking lots and stuff, and just listening to good music. Um, I wanted to address something that I heard earlier with regards to, some of the rappers, like Cool DJ Herc, Africa Bombada, Grandmaster Flash. A lot of these brothers' parents migrated to this country in the 30s, 40s, and 50s from the Caribbean, particularly, and so their influences, are profound, from Black music, and it's also, influences from their music in the different countries that they came from, Barbados and Jamaica, different parts of the Caribbean. I think ska would probably be the type of style of music that maybe you guys could resonate with a little bit, but um, I think, getting back to what I was saying originally, I think the South, what they call the Dirty South, I love Dirty South rap. I mean, I was in love with Scarface. I used to love to talk to this brother. I used to love to just be around and just see what he was working on. It was just great. 8 Ball MJG, another big favorite of mine. And I'm from New York. It was such an exposure, but I was so grateful to it because I think that Dirty South music is the bomb. So anyway, I wanted to land with that, and thank you so much. Oh, and then Afro Elite, if you talk about house music, then you need to study Frankie Knuckles. Frankie Knuckles, I think, is probably the premier DJ for house music in Chicago. If
He
you
is. He is.
Yeah, so I used to, that's another thing. When I in New York City, I was 15 years old, looking like I was 26, and went to all the clubs. So I used to hit the clubs in New York City, and he used to travel to all of them. Level 10, Silver Shadows, Red Parrot, The Garage. DJ Larry Levon was another one. Paradise Garage. It was just the best time in music. So I land with that. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that history. Thank you so much. Oh, so a small island with 2 million people created all this. That what they tell us. That what they tell the world.
Are you saying something to me?
No, I'm just
Oh,
saying something in general.
oh, okay.
Jamaicans on an island with 2 million people and barely any infrastructure created all this.
But who said that though? I'm
Oh, we this is like this is like a 3 day every 3 day thing that pops up on Twitter,
really.
which is why I'm doing the room because I've heard this for at least a decade, especially growing up. I've heard this that Jamaicans and Caribbeans created hip hop, and every time they get hit with the receipts, it goes away for about 3 days and then it starts right back up again.
No, I don't. I mean, they didn't create hip hop. If anything, what they probably did was marry what they listened to, particularly ska, back in the '60s, and marry it to a different style when they came up here. I mean, but they didn't create hip hop. You know, that's just my own personal opinion. But if anything, I think reggae through Bob Marley. I think and the message that he was putting out there was revolutionary for that little island and for the rest of the world. Um, he was a great influence, but I mean, to say that hip hop was born out of the Caribbean, I think is a bit of a stretch.
Yes, ma'am. And even he admitted, biggest reggae artist ever, even admitted that hip hop influenced a lot of his music and a lot of the reggae artists' music that's gonna come forward. Even he admitted it. But doesn't matter where they come
I mean,
from.
I don't think Bob Marley had to admit anything. I think he was just speaking his truth.
Right. But again, you're hearing it from basically one of your greatest ambassadors, but you don't they don't take any credit and they say, okay, let us back down. They're just still going with it. So, but one day, like they said, there will be a reckoning, and hopefully this will finally die down. But let me get who was
Can I
next,
add
Lauren?
something? May I add something too?
Yeah.
I remember as a kid listening to the radio in Milwaukee, and I remember hearing listening to the Jamaican station, and all of their songs were covers of Black American songs, and even
Yes, ma'am.
The Latino stations, all of their songs were covers of Black American songs. So I think in their mind they think they made this. They told themselves that they made this somehow because they didn't, because you could hear the twang from the Jamaican little rhythm with it. But I don't know if anyone else has that memory or is old enough to remember
Hey, yeah,
that.
oh man, ma'am,
Yeah, but
I'm
Yeah.
Jamaican. You know this. I mean, I grew up with this in the '80s. Like Sanchez was like one of the Sanchez and Barrington Levy were two of the biggest
Well,
fighters
you had
ever.
Yellow Man. Remember, there was Yellow Man.
Yellow Man is a biter
Yellow
too.
Man was really the one. The forefront. Sister Nancy was another one. You had I mean, Yellow Man was huge, but I think what the lady is saying is true. They would adopt the music and put it, make it into like the reggae thing. That's just something that they do. It's not, I mean, that is just something that is done. um it's like an ode to the music, and I can't explain it. I mean, I can't speak on the new Caribbean people that have migrated here. I can definitely speak on from old school, and it's more of an ode to the music than anything else. And that's what they do. It's not just Jamaicans, but it's other Caribbean people that do it. And that's just something that's done. It's still even to this day. But you had some of the greatest Caribbean DJs. Two of the ones was Road International and Sound System, and so they adopted a style, and it was They were influenced by hip hop, no doubt about it.
Yes,
So
sir. Even the clashes when they do the clashes in Jamaica, that was bad. That was turntable battles. But they don't want to admit that they that's another thing that they claim that they invented the sound system clashes. But we
but that's
debunked
that's
that in the room earlier.
new Caribbean folks. I'm just, that's this new stuff. These new people that's coming here, they don't know a goddamn thing.
No, that's what
They,
I'm.
they
Yeah,
don't even know half the music that they're listening on the radio is covers from original things from like LTD, Earth, Wind and Fire, James and Tume, all that they don't know that stuff.
Right. That's why I always say I respect FBAs, because they at least teach the history, and so their children know the history. And us non FBAs, we gotta get on that wave as well. But let's keep it moving. Lawrence, go ahead.
What's up? Man, thanks for creating this title. I have also been hearing this going around, and I'm not gonna lie, it's triggered me too. I'm from Cali. I'm a musician, composer, producer, writer myself, and I just produced a successful theatrical musical in Atlanta last year, going to New York next year. Um, but when it comes to hip hop and all forms of music that comes out of the FBA culture, um, you don't even got to look too far past just that right there when it comes down to culture alone. Um, when it comes to I'm trying to put my words together. Um, when you see any black kid from most parts of America, there's something in them that's just natural when it comes to their their FBA heritage. Be it hip hop, you can see little black kids, they got this gift to rap that just came fell out the sky. It could be singing, it could be dancing, and when it comes down to R&B, gospel, hip hop, jazz, these are things that was created out of the culture of FBAs in this country. Going back to slavery, I wanted to kind of expound on what Marcel, when he was going back with the other person about jazz. Jazz was popularized in New Orleans, but it came out throughout a lot of the country because what the slaves used to have to do, they would have to take broken instruments that the slave masters would give them for their churches. So when they would play on these broken instruments, the sounds that would come out is what created the early foundations of jazz. And that was all over the place. It was in South Carolina and most of the slave states. So that's why, as a musician, it's most people you can't write jazz notes on paper, real jazz, because it came out of a brokenness, and then of course that jazz was born out of the gospel that we were singing in those churches as well, and all of that added to our R&B and even our hip hop, you know, and it's something that's embedded. If you go to any other place in the world where there are black skinned people, you will find that their music is something so unique to their culture that really nobody else can all the way mimic it. No one can sing them African choir songs like Lion King really like Africans. And that's not even being funny, but that's what the root of their culture is. And I'll land my plane with this. A couple of years ago, I was invited to an African church. They wanted me to teach them a music workshop. They wanted to sing gospel music so bad. So I'm teaching them the notes. The musicians was hating. They couldn't play the way I played, which is something else unique to FBAs, how we play. Um, they couldn't play the way I played, the way I did gospel. And when I was trying to teach them to sing like our choirs and our black churches sing, they could actually hit the notes, but they couldn't get the sound. And I told them, I said, I get it. The sound that you hear coming out of your Patti LaBelle's and Aretha Franklin's and Luther Vandross's and Jennifer Hudson's and these black churches we go all day long, it comes from the ancestry of our slaves. That's why you can never hear the sound duplicated anywhere else. You cannot go to Jamaica and find a natural born Jamaican who can rap like a natural born FBA without being taught you know. So I land my plane with that.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, so let me get Black Voltron, Marcel, and then Cornbread.
Hey, Big B one to you, everybody. Thank you, Kid Gravity, Nikki the God, Marcel, and everybody. And I just wanted to follow up on Brother Afro Elite's point about Chicago. I mean, Chicago is goddamn huge. And yeah, Afro Elite, you would be well to study your city's history as far as the music because, you know, what you got to realize is a lot of a lot of the Chicago scene, as far as jazz, like I'm sorry about that. Cannonball Adderley, King Oliver, and jazz quartets and stuff. Everybody came through Chicago because, like you're saying, the FBA lineage of a lot of Chicagoans came out of Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana when they were getting out of the Deep South. So, you know, that Great Migration, everybody was running to Chicago and Detroit to go get those jobs just to get the hell up out of the hellholes and the white supremacist terrorism that was happening down south, the straight lynchings during the Jim Crow period, after during and after Reconstruction. So, like you were saying, that pain it comes from the music. That's what people were singing: the blues, the Muddy Waters, Chess Records. I mean, I forgot the name of the movie. It may have been Chess. That came out a couple years ago with Beyonce, who was playing
Oh, you talking about Cadillac
Cadillac
Records?
Records. That's right. It's really supposed to be about Chess Records, but Cadillac Records. She was playing Etta James, and you had I forgot the brother's name who played Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Bo Diddley. I mean, you had all that music, all that rich tradition of music. I mean, Elmore James, Bo Diddley, Buddy Guy, Little Walter, Big Walter Horton and stuff, Junior Wells. I mean, it's massive. And then when you take it to the house scene, I mean, house had a profound effect on me as a kid coming out of East Oakland, California. So I went to school down in Morehouse College 2 years, starting in 1988. I graduated class of '88, and it was a culture shock to me. I know it's weird saying that for me coming out the Bay Area, but I hadn't been around, a whole bunch of different black people from around the United States. And it was, back then it was all black. It was like one Filipino dude in the entire school at Morehouse, my freshman year. And he was like a senior or junior or something like that. But you got cats coming from Midwest, South, of course, is in Atlanta, East Coast, New York and stuff, and of course, West Coast, Midwest, and everywhere in between, mountain states like Colorado, Idaho and shit. Nigga came from Idaho and shit, which shocked the shit out of me. And you had all these musical styles and culture, foundation of Black American culture culminate. And I first heard house music, I was like, the fuck is this? I grew up listening, to funk, record, soul, hip hop, and then short, Too Short, MC Hammer, you know what I'm saying? Digital Underground and stuff. I'm coming straight Bay Area for sure. And then E40, even E40 was out in '89 and stuff. And then you hear house music. I was like, wow, I kind of, it sounded kind of like disco. And later on, I found out the origins of house music. But, listening to Frankie Knuckles, listening to Mr. Lee, Little Lewis, you know what I'm saying? The one I really liked the most was Marshall Jefferson, Gotta Have House. I was like, oh man, this shit is kind of knocking. My friends looking at me like I done lost my motherfucking mind. Like, nigga, what you listening to? I said, nigga, I'm bumping this house music, nigga. This the motherfucking shit. And the girls getting freaky and shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this some cool shit. And it had that heavy ass bass line and everybody was in their groove. And I got the respect brothers coming from Chicago and Detroit and stuff. The Keith Farley's and Ron Hardy's and stuff like that. Steve Silk Hurley's, Jack, I was like, nigga, I love this shit. I can get down with Lil Lewis and shit. And the girls be freaking. You know what I'm saying? This is some cool shit. And at the same time, I got to hear, go-go music from DC, and that music, that rich culture, there's no fucking way that none of this shit came from the experience of Jamaica. Um, Jamaicans did not create this. This is just, again, this is a lie. Our history, our music is too rich for this. Afro Elite, man, study your Chicago music history, man. Get in them crates, man. Start getting you some Chicago music, man. Get into that jazz. Definitely get into that house music because you supposed to know that shit coming from Chicago. The Warehouse, Frankie Knuckles, all that shit, man. You know what I'm saying? Ten City, Adonis. Goddamn, man. Mr. Lee. Nigga, that shit was coming on Soul Beat in Oakland. I was hearing house music in Oakland in 1989, 1988, 89, 90 and stuff. So you got to get caught up, bro. Young man. You know what I'm saying? You got to get caught up with your music and stuff. And it's just like we have such a rich history of so many different music styles, and then it changes throughout the decades and stuff, and it becomes regional, and then but now with the controlling of our music, because we didn't allow our independent music companies, record companies like Death Row, Bad Boy, Suave House, No Limit, and whatnot, to actually build to become major record labels like the A&M Records did, like Columbia Records did, like
Arista,
the what?
Arista,
Arista. Yeah,
Arista,
man.
Sony,
Arista and shit, man.
Sony, yeah,
Fucking Sony. Yeah, goddamn Japanese.
Universal.
Japanese. How the Japanese get in control of music and shit? Japanese and white folks.
Eh.
We
That's why I be telling Jamaicans down there in Jamaica, y'all let VP Records run your music.
How does that happen? Because we're too lazy to control our own and control. PBA says all the time, we got to own and control our own music. We've got to own and control our own music. Take control. Graffiti culture. I remember reading subway art and spray can art when I first started doing graffiti back in the early '80s and stuff. I was fascinated with that shit. But niggas couldn't tag on the BART train because it was stainless steel. They just buff it off real quick. But when I was tagging and shit, bombing up the city, so a brother said, yeah, I was doing the same shit out here in Oakland and the Bay Area, putting up my pieces and stuff, and we needed that culture, and we took bits and pieces of that culture, sampled the shit, but we reveled in it because it was all ours. Not one time were you hearing any of these Jamaicans saying, "Oh, that hip hop is our thing, that jazz is our thing, that house is our thing, that big band, the blues, the ragtime, that came from Jamaicans." You didn't hear none of that shit because it's a lie. And I guess I could say I'm a musician too. I did jazz band in high school. I played tenor and baritone saxophone at my school, and we were playing like Herbie Hancock. We were playing Weather Report, for jazz bands, going to the Monterey Jazz Festival and shit, and playing down there. You feel me? We were actually doing what inculcating ourselves within the culture, playing that music, and starting to understand just the jazz improvisation. That improvisation is the same as freestyle. You coming off the head, whatever's within you, and you just flowing with it. You flowing with it. You flowing with it. You flowing with the music, and whoever catches vibe, you run with that shit. You just let it go, like a Prince concert. Thank God I finally got to one just before he passed. But our music is such rich history and culture. Don't let nobody tell you that foundational Black Americans don't have a culture. Foundational Black American history, culture, music, food is American culture. Not Jamaican, not Haitian, not Puerto Rican, not Dominican, not African. No matter what country they're from, they've all taken some of foundational Black American culture, but that's strictly an American thing. All right. Even Fela Kuti out in Nigeria, he was influenced by the jazz and funk of the '70s and stuff like that, and he freely admits that shit. That rubbed off on him. That's why he created such great music. Hugh Masekela, he created great music because he was influenced by the jazz greats, the blues greats, the soul greats. The fucking Beatles, man, they getting they shit from Johnny Lee Hooker, Bo Diddley, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Fats Domino. Come on, man. And then if you go down to Mississippi, some of the great, early blues musicians, the down home blues down there in Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana and stuff, they were deeply influenced. Who's the big old rock group and shit? The Rolling Stones. They were influenced by the fucking blues, and they freely admit that shit. Eric Clapton, And we didn't create this shit. We got this shit from Foundational Black Americans down south. You know, this is us all day. Be proud of your foundational Black American history. Spread it all around and do not let anybody come and take your history, take your culture, take what is you. This is us all day. FBA all day. I love my non-FBA all code brothers and sisters like Kid Gravity Beyond. But this is a Black American thing. Don't you ever forget it. Let me land on that.
Hey, y'all need to take what Black Voltron just did, cut that out, and play it for your youngins, please. That has to be the mantra. Protect your history. Because I'm trying to teach my daughter her FBA history with her mom, because they come from South Carolina. So we have to make sure as young as 2, they know who the leaders are, they know who the innovators are. Because when she grows up, I don't know what world she's gonna grow up into. Like they're already minimizing Black contributions right now, and we're all adults. What kind of world is she going to go into when she's doing her history lessons, or she's being taught, indoctrinated, I should say, by these teachers that don't want to see her succeed? So it's got to be on us as parents and the leaders that we say we are, content creators, whatever, to make sure we keep this information alive. But I'm gonna get off my soapbox, so let me get Cornbread on there.
What's up, family? Y'all can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, all right. So I'm gonna piggyback off of what I've been hearing so far. Um, Africans or Jamaicans do not have the musical ingenuity or imagination and creative imagination to create the music that Black Americans have created. They don't have the imagination. They don't have the background. I myself is from Kool Herc Block. Kool Herc lives in the building next to me. To clear this up about the foundation and the origins of hip hop, Kool Herc did not create hip hop. Hip hop did not have a name in the 70s. It was a funk breakbeat party movement that came out of James Brown parties. Everybody was playing James Brown. I don't care what Black American community you lived in, from California to Oakland to Chicago to New York. Everybody had teenage parties that centered around James Brown parties. Kool Herc came here at 12 years old. He did not come here as a DJ. He did not come here wanting to be a DJ. He was a little kid. He came here in 1967. This man lives in the building next to me. As a kid, he's gone. I know the first B-boys. I know all the people he grew up with. He tells you himself, he did not create hip hop. Hip hop was already going on. It didn't have a name. He wasn't even trying to be a DJ. He came here, he was Americanized. At 12 years old, he said, all my friends was American. They Americanized me. They took me around the Bronx. They took me around the streets. They took me to funk parties, soul parties. He said, I was groomed to this. I was groomed by Black Americans what the latest fashion was, the latest slang, the latest haircuts. He didn't know anything. His friends told him all this. Everybody was already breaking. The term at the time was called burning. It was a style. It was a style of funk dance, a freestyle. They was going to parties in the Bronx. There was other DJs already out. The biggest DJ in New York was Grandmaster Flowers. He started in 1967 as a teen prodigy. That was the #1 DJ in New York, Grandmaster Flowers. He opened up for James Brown at Yankee Stadium in 1969. He was a teenage prodigy. He warmed up the crowd playing music for them before the different performances came out. From that, he went into the streets. DJing in New York in the streets has already been out since like the 50s. Block parties. People were already doing this. He did not come from Jamaica. Jamaica had a whole different scene. Jamaica got their music from Black fans. You have to look at all these people that's claiming our creations as theirs. Look what they were doing before having contact with Black Americans. What were these people doing? How was they dressing? Their music, everything. Jamaican music is Minto. Minto and Kumina. That's their music. Minto is like a offshoot of Calypso. That's strictly Jamaicans. That's their own music. After that, every influence they got and everything they copied and borrowed came from Black Americans. They would not have any music if it wasn't for Black Americans. They wouldn't know how to sing if it was, or harmonize if it wasn't for Black Americans. They copied everything Black Americans do. Black Americans was the leading ethnic group of the diaspora, the black diaspora. Everybody looked up to black Americans as role models. Africans, Jamaicans, everybody. Kool Herc came here. He was a little kid. Once he got Americanized, he wanted to be a DJ. He used to go to parties in the Bronx, church parties, house parties. He went to teenage clubs like called the Plaza Tunnel, the Puzzle, the Psychedelic Shack. These were all of the hip hop parties that didn't have a name. They weren't called hip hop at the time. They were just break beats of funk and soul. And everybody was b-boying breaking at that time, which wasn't those terms. He just joined the movement. You had other DJs, Grandmaster Flowers. You had Smokey and the Smokatrons. You had DJ Mario. You had John Brown. That's who really influenced Herc. You had, of course, Grandmaster Flowers, the #1 DJ in New York. You had DJ Pete Jones, DJ Hollywood. You had a lot of DJs at this time. They were all playing different styles. Herc, when he finally started DJing, he became the best DJ between 1974 and 77. He was a prominent DJ. He wasn't the first, but he influenced a lot of people. He didn't start this. They don't have the imagination to create this music. B-boying and breaking, it's already been there. Graffiti, it wasn't even called graffiti. It was called style writing. Graffiti is a newspaper term. Jamaicans came here, they became Americanized. Whenever other ethnic groups come around black Americans, they become black Americanized. They emulate our slang, cut their hair like us, dress like us, talk like us, walk like us. And somewhat it's like them abandoning their own culture to emulate us. Always study of what their people were doing before they had contact with black Americans. What Busta Rhymes and them saying, it's out of pride. It's out of ethnic pride. They know they didn't create this. They don't have the imagination to create this type of music. They wouldn't have their music if it wasn't for us. Everything we've created came from us internally. We got our music from nobody else except ourselves. Jazz, what King Buddy Bolden was doing, the reason he stood out so much in New Orleans is because he was doing what every other black American was doing on a plantation. He was fusing the music together. Everything they had, they was fusing it. What he was doing with the horn, he was fusing ragtime with blues and gospel. That was unheard of. And then a lot of improvisation. He was doing freestyle, jam sessions. Black Americans are notorious for jam sessions. No matter where you at on a plantation, we're all one ethnic group. Everything we're doing is similar. It's the same, but it's just regional. Nobody in the world was doing what black Americans were doing. We stood out from everybody. We are a unique ethnic group. And that's the reason why people want to claim us and copy us. And then we teach people our styles. That's the thing. We're very friendly. We'll teach people our culture. We'll teach them our music, our dance styles. And then 40 years later, they'll tell you they created it or they was with us when we created it. Like, no, we taught you. They can't respect that. Same thing with rock and roll. We were already doing it. White kids, they left country music. They came over to rock and roll. We taught them. Elvis, all of them. Elvis used to hang on Bill Street. He used to carry the suitcase for Ike Turner and B.B. King walking to their shows. We taught these people. But 50, 60 years later, they're changing the narrative. But the truth is, no, Kool Herc did not start hip hop. He came here as a little kid at 12 years old. He was influenced by black American DJs. He was influenced by the kids breaking around him, everything. He joined the movement. He's just one DJ out of like 7 before it had a name. It had no name in the 70s. I'm going to land my plane here.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you so much for that. Now, before we continue, make sure you tweet this space out so I get more people up in here. I'm surprised none of the tethers showed up. I was waiting for somebody to come in here and tell us we were wrong, but I guess they didn't want the smoke from over 100 people. That's fine. I'm sure they'll bring it. What's today? Wednesday. I'm sure they'll bring this up by Saturday. So that's all good. Yeah, and I also Jumbotron put up Afro Elite and Torian Rain and myself our YouTube channels. So make sure you follow that because we do have discussions like this and so much more. So it'd be a big help for you guys to help us get our names out there a lot more so we can continue to have conversations like this so more people, especially younger generations, can hear the correct information, not the watered down I'm going to revise it information because, like I said, FBA has got to protect their culture, just like you couldn't be a Black American and say you invented your chicken. The Jamaicans will come with their machetes and come to you, but that might be a bad look for them because FBA is not going to fight and roast. So Just got to be mindful of that. But let's continue. Let me get Stage and then NFT Money.
Peace to the family. Can y'all hear me? I'm currently in the gym. That's why I'm asking.
All right, you getting workout in, but you got something to say. Go ahead. We're gonna let it ride.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. First of all, shout out to my brother Black Voltron, always speaking facts. The brother Cornbread just laid it down. He basically took most of my talking points. I want to thank that brother for speaking nothing but truth. Again, I'm a kid from Brooklyn, New York. Grew up here. Family from the South, but I wasn't around when hip hop was, as my brother said, coined hip hop. But my uncles and aunts were, and they were out there on the scene in the Bronx. Here's my question: if we didn't create hip hop, first of all, we must understand hip hop is more than just rapping. Hip hop is also the way you dress. It's the way you talk. It's the way you dance. It's a lot of things that's amalgamated into one thing that we call hip hop. So, with that being said, I would like to know in Jamaica, where's graffiti at? Where do they speak like us? Where do they dance, break dance like us? Where is that taking place in Jamaica if they created this thing that we call hip hop today? Secondly, what I would say is that my Black Voltron is from the Bay Area. When they talk with that whole Izzo, Shizzo shit, that's a part of hip hop also. That's something that was created here on this land that we now call America. That's something that's the foundation to that area over there. That's something that's really unique about that area. To say that hip hop was created in some small island instead of the Bronx, New York, and again, I'm not from the Bronx, I'm from Brooklyn, but the fact is that hip hop technically was created in that area. That's where the first party took place. And if you have just one representative from an island that says that okay, he played music, that means he's the creator of this. That's just a lie. Okay. No disrespect to my brother Cool Herc. Much love to him, but Cool Herc could tell you, like my brother Cornbread said, he didn't create that. He just peeped what was the vibe in the Bronx during that time, and he basically played the music to what they wanted to hear. Hip hop itself was based off of one man, and that was James Brown. Okay, so there's no Jamaican James Brown. Last time I checked. I mean, someone could correct me if I'm wrong. There's no Jamaican James Brown. So when you're talking about who created hip hop, you have to look at all the facets of hip hop, and then that's when you would get down to the nitty gritty. As far as Busta Rhymes, and much love for Busta Rhymes, that he's Jamaican himself. He's Caribbean. So again, like I think one of my brothers said, it may be like a ethnic pride thing that he's trying to do, but at the end of the day, let's not lie, let's tell the truth. I don't even know why we go back and forth with this. When it comes to reggae, when it comes to ska, a man by the name of Roscoe Gordon created the modern ska and reggae sound. So my question is, if y'all didn't even create reggae or ska, how do you feel like that you created hip hop? And lastly, if Jamaicans created hip hop, why isn't it that they still do it in Jamaica today? Hip hop sells more than any Jamaican song that you can name. The biggest Jamaican song I believe that sold was Shaggy, It Wasn't Me. And my point is, hip hop is there's so much money in hip hop today. Why aren't they still doing it over there if it was created over there? And with that, I'll land. Thank you for the space, Kid Gravity, and co-host Nikki. Much thank you. Much love to the family. Be one.
Yeah, well, the reason why they don't do it is because they figured dancehall would be their answer to it, but not even today now. Dancehall's not as popular as it used to be in the 90s and the 2000s. Like it really fell off a cliff. I don't know what the hell happened. I think it's because um the big three music companies bought a lot of that reggae music, which they don't want to talk about. And a lot of them don't even want reggae artists coming out with songs. And especially now with this age of pandemic that we're in, it's hard to go back and forth between Jamaica and the US to try to build that audience back up. So the best they can do right now is go the trap route. But that's so saturated right now. I don't even think unless they're exceptional at it, I don't think they're gonna get over. So they're really, and like I said, Soldier got that Grammy, so they're vice gripped right now. Reggae and dancehall are they're in trouble right now. So I mean, hell, they don't even promote Coffee Brown anymore, and she was hot for like 2 years. So I don't know what Jamaica's gonna do. So I guess they must be latching on to hip hop as a way to try to get back into the world music scene. But you know, do what you got to do. but let's keep it moving. What's the next? I think I said NFT was next.
Yeah, no, you did. And that win by Soulja was crazy. I remember when they used to come through Charleston and do shows, and they was really pushing that, they call it white reggae. And they was very proud of it. And unfortunately, they was getting produced by Jamaicans. I mean, that's how they got their credibility. They would work with various Jamaican producers, and then once they got enough credibility, they left all those people in the dust. Um,
Yeah,
but
shout
I
out to
wanted,
Tariq for calling them pastafarians. That was hilarious.
right? But I wanted to kind of circle back on a couple of things. Like one, one thing we forgot about too, as black music became more popular in white circles, they would not allow the artists to put their faces on their records. So you had this era of music coming from black artists that had white faces on the album, because they did not want white people getting comfortable with enjoying black music and having an affinity for black artists. So that's one thing that needs to be constantly referred back to, when they were basically using whiteface on black albums. Another thing is too, in California, we must keep in mind that California has had a black presence for quite some time, and one of the reasons that we know that's true is because of jazz. The jazz scene in California, all the way in the early 1900s, was a mecca for jazz music. Cats would do the Chitlin circuit and then head out to California for months at a time, just playing concerts up and down the West Coast. And there's proof of that with artists like Dizzy Gillespie and Miles Davis and Charlie Parker and stuff like that. So I really wanted to harp on that. And then I want to throw something else in the mix with the when we were talking about like house music. Um, I know Detroit is supposed to get some props too. I was under the impression that it's a mix between Chicago and Detroit with the history on house music and electronic music. I know specifically Detroit is supposed to get a lot of credibility for starting electronic music, what we know today, that was popularized. I can't remember the group out of Germany that gets a lot of the credibility for electronic music. But Detroit needs to get its respects too, because they still jam out to electronic music themselves, even nowadays. Like, they have their own little scene, and that's one thing you'll notice across America, particularly in our major cities, is they have their own style. They have their own dances, their own types of music that may only fluctuate in those communities specifically. But I just wanted to throw that in there because I want people to know that it was a time where we couldn't even put our faces on the music, on the album covers, because white society wanted to hold us back even more. So I want to land on that.
Kid Gravity. Quick question. Do you mind if I post something in the Jumbotron about Roscoe
Yeah,
Daughtry,
y'all
the
post
creator
whatever
of
y'all want as long as it's related to the topic.
Understood? Thank you so much, brother.
Yes, sir. Me putting no trolling shit up in there. Yeah, you would cussed out. But let's keep it moving. Let me get Lawrence. You had your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah. By the way, I gotta say, Black Voltron and cornbread, y'all had me in my kitchen like damn near catching the Holy Ghost live. Real talk. And this is one of the best spaces I've really, actually the best space I've been in. I'm new to the whole Twitter thing. Like, I've had my Twitter for years and just started using it like 2 weeks ago for these spaces. And I can't say that I learned something today. Growing up in Southern California in the 90s and early 2000s, it wasn't that many black people. And sad to say, it's not that many black people in Southern California or most of the state now. A lot of them has left. So a lot of culture, a lot of us on that part of the West Coast, depending on where you were, we didn't experience. And I gotta say, I did not know that black people had anything to do with house music. My only experiences of house music growing up in Southern Cali, only white people would play that. So we thought that was there. So I just learned something really new about that. Um, but to expound up on what one of the other gentlemen said about you know, the jazz scene in California. It was big in the very early 1900s, just like New York had the Harlem Renaissance, which was a jazz explosion. California had the same thing, actually, believe it or not, in South Central. So a lot of the clubs during the time when they had streetcars and stuff was a jazz scene on South Central. I learned this because I used to manage buildings down there. And buried in these old ass buildings, you actually can find still old ass organs and leftover trumpets and stuff from that era still there right now. So everywhere black people have moved about throughout the country, because of our pain and experiences for slavery, there is something that you just can't put your finger on that is unique to us. The reason why, like old boy said, well, you can't go to Jamaica right now and they're not pumping out hip hop is because it's not native to them. You know what I'm saying? It's something that they caught on to, but you're not ever going to not hear hip hop coming out of FBAs. I don't care if it's a 5-year old. You know what I'm saying? You're going to see hip hop in that kid, whether it's in their dance, whether it's in their voices, whether it's in whatever it is native to us. That's why you don't see it popping out any other places like that. I respect the Caribbean for what they add to the world in terms of music. That culture that they got with the rhythmic sounds that come from Africa, you know, that's theirs. And I love what they bring. It allows me to experience their culture. I love going to sometimes to Jamaican restaurants and getting the oxtail and curry goats. You know what I'm saying? I'm not too keen on fufu and stuff with the Africans, but I like experiencing those cultures, and I can cook some of that food in my own house, but it's not gonna be like what they could do in their own house. You know what I'm saying? So our culture is our own that we added to the world, and I'm not trying to offend nobody, but because FBAs are the culture, you see Japanese people trying to mimic FBAs in terms of dance and hip hop, not just Jamaicans. If they could
They
claim
do.
that they were,
Japanese do that to Jamaicans too, and the Trinidadians.
yeah,
They do
didn't
that in
some
Tokyo. They have clubs over there. They have a soca club over there. They have a Jamaican club over there. So
that's the damn
yeah,
thing. You can go on YouTube right now and you could actually see Japanese people getting what's called an Afro perm, where they're trying to make their hair nappy like black people so they could get edge ups like FBAs.
yeah.
It's
And
happening.
also look up this artist over there called Sega. They call him like the Jay-Z of Japan.
Shut up.
I'm
So
dead serious. I'm dead serious. I'm
I
dead
can't.
serious.
I can't. So, but man, but once again, I just want to say thank you for hosting this space. I'm gonna support the YouTubes that y'all said about, man, and and keep it up. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got, like I said, we have to have these conversations. It's not just for us, just to compare notes and get an understanding. Because most of us in here are B1, but this is for the younger generation. They got to be able to hear stuff like this, and that's why a lot of our spaces we record and put up on our channel because we want those saved for posterity. So, like I said, when you see our spaces up like this, please contribute. The more voices, the more validation. That's what we're looking for. And like also, if somebody has like Black Voltron was going in with his stories of being an old hip hop head, and then we have somebody that's younger that sees that, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Let me start looking up what you said," and then now they're getting educated. So each one teach one. That's how we run these things. But let's keep it moving. Let me get Cress Welsing. Go ahead.
Um, I wanted to say something real quick because I have my hand raised. I'm gonna have to go. Um, I'm calling on anyone who has not spoken, who is not of FBA lineage, to please come up here and let us know how you feel about this subject. I'm just not seeing enough non-FBA speak on it or speak against it. But however, I'm seeing y'all speak against it on my timeline. So I'm just calling y'all to come up here and speak. That's it.
Don't be scared. The not FBA is running the room. I'm gonna give y'all. I'm gonna give y'all rope. Just don't hang yourself, please. But Chris Wilson, please go ahead.
I'm a non-FBA. My father's Afro-Cuban. My mother's from Jamaica. I was born in the Bronx. And I've been, I came up to the stage to say that between this medium and Clubhouse, but particularly Clubhouse, was an experience for me because when I first became a member of Clubhouse, I was moving within a circle of FBA tribe because of, certain books that I've read and, I connected with them. But then, you soon realize that, the vitriol against you, and it's not really, I had to learn it wasn't really me. It's definitely that I am a non-FBA, but, they and again, because of post-traumatic slave syndrome, past experiences or maybe recent experiences, when they want to take it out on somebody, I just happened to be the one in the room that they would take it out on. But I was a little different because I would push back because I grew up with with FBA people. I mean, my family, we love FBA. We have FBA in our family. I know how to handle myself, you know what I mean, and how to take care of myself and protect myself. um I came up to the stage to say that not all non-FBA people, not all Black, I can't speak for Africans, but I can speak for my family. I can speak for that generation of people who came to this country in the 40s and 50s. Okay, is a whole nother mindset, a whole nother level, and a whole level of respect for Black American people and Black American history. Okay, so like my father, had he had his way, he would have raised us in the Nation of Islam. Because when my dad came here from Cuba, he said what shocked him was the fact that he could parallel white supremacy in America to white supremacy in Cuba. He always said the difference between the two was one spoke Spanish, the other one didn't, spoke English. So, not all this whole narrative about, oh, the Jamaicans, like, okay, so we know we're talking about Jamaicans, but there's a whole lot of other islands too that make up the Caribbean. But I understand that Jamaica is probably at, a very popular island. Having to say that, but at the very least, you know, there's a whole level of Caribbeans that absolutely is here and acknowledge that if it wasn't for the blood drenched on that flag from Black American people, we wouldn't be here. My family in particular, very heavy on Black history. Like I could rival a lot here. I could rival a lot, and I have, because it's one thing that my family always encouraged us to do is read. Thanksgiving, from when we were little kids, my father said the Pilgrims had nothing to do with you. Our assignment was always to get one Black contributor of something great, and we would have to be at the Thanksgiving table talking about it, and then we prayed and thanked God for them. That's how we do. So not all Black Caribbeans, not all non-FBA is like these tethers, or these coons. And if I had to liken a difference, you talk about Cicely Tyson. She's non-FBA to somebody like Cynthia Erivo, completely disrespectful on Black American history and culture.
But Cress, right? Um, I think too what the issue is, because you were talking about stuff like Clubhouse and stuff. I think sometimes the issue with people is that people don't always disclose their non-FBA status right away. And then like when they're in spaces talking about reparations and things like that, people feel like they've been duped because in the beginning the person did not say, "Hey, I'm non-FBA." So it's different when you disclose that in the beginning within these circles from the
Well,
beginning.
I will tell you that from the very moment that I created my Clubhouse, my mother's Jamaican flag and my father's Cuban flag was there, because I am not ashamed of my parents. I'm very proud of my family. In fact, I was attacked by an FBA woman who accused, don't know me, don't know my family, and said my family came here and lived off her people. That wasn't the truth. And when I got through with her, she realized that I'm not fucking around with her. But at the end of the day, I don't have any shame. I grew up in the Bronx, on 187th and Valentine Avenue and Webster Avenue projects. And you know, I love my FBA people. To your point, what shocks me are FBA people who all of a sudden they become what the term in Clubhouse was pretendians or everything else. What shocks me with a lot of FBA people is that they are so busy to call me out about my non-FBA parents, but they jumping on white dick and jumping on white pussy. And so at the end of the day, if we're going to be real about stuff, then you do not call out my family that I had no power in or influence in where they came from. I'm 55 years old. I am true and respectful to Black American history. And this whole thing about hiding, it's like if we're going to be calling people out, then we got to be real with ourselves too. And if you're going to be jumping on white pussy, African pussy, or dick, whatever you're going to do, then you need to come out and do that. But don't you dare call me out, because you see, the thing that I realize is when you lay in your truth, when people attack you and they want to, oh, you are non-FBA or you are tether or you're not real. I don't worry about those things. I sleep at night peacefully, because when you're on your burner phone trying to see what I'm saying, I'm out here fighting like everybody else for reparations because I see the bigger picture. So, my message here is, not all non-FBA are your enemies. And it would be wise to judge somebody by their character and consistency, because you have a lot of FBA coons out here, a lot of FBA people that are undermining you. And if anybody wants to see that, you could just witness the California Task Reparations Force and see all the FBA people that try to undermine that movement. So at the end of the day, I want to land with that. And thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Can I make a comment off of what you said? Because I agree largely. I really do agree that everybody needs to hold their people accountable. And that's something that I try my best to stay consistent in, holding Black people, especially FBA people, accountable, because we should all be holding our people accountable. I don't like, and we've recently got into it with a certain group. I need not say their name, but we've recently got into it with a certain group of people who are acting as if everybody who is not an FBA is a tether and all of them are absolute. And we don't do that here. We don't do that. We understand that all non-FBA are not tethers. We understand that there are a lot of non-FBAs who are on code. That being said, we have to address something. We definitely have to address something, because we get the response, oh, I don't understand why FBA are acting as if all non-FBA are like this, all non-FBA are off code, or all non-FBA hate us. We constantly get that response. But the thing is that when FBA is being attacked, when FBA is being disrespected, when FBA is being dragged on a timeline or in the media by non-FBA, a lot, and for the most part, all non-FBA don't say anything, with the exception of very few. For
That's not me.
instance, hold on. For instance, Kid Gravity is a non-FBA, but he made this space. For the longest time, you have the on-code non-FBAs who don't address the disrespect from their people. I got Pan-Africanists on my timeline right now going back and forth with me about what I said about Juneteenth, which was a fact that it's a foundational Black American holiday. And I don't see too many, I do see some, but I don't see too many non-FBAs backing that fact up. The thing is that when let me restate this. The thing is not all, and I'm not even going to say most. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and not say most. But the tether class of non-FBAs, they seem to run the block. They seem to run the yard. And what they says goes unchecked by majority of you. And that's
Well,
just the truth. What they hold
Afro, but
on,
let me just say
hold on.
something. That's not
Ma'am,
all of them.
hold on. What they say goes unchecked by majority every time they disrespect, for the most part, not all, but for the most part, every time they disrespect and violate and offend FBA, all of the quote unquote on code non FBA are conveniently blind and conveniently miss that part, but they are very well aware of our response to the disrespect. So
Okay,
what
so
we
can I
can't,
just say something to you? Let me
ma'am,
finish.
man, hold on. I'm almost done. What we can't do, and even though I agree, we can't be calling people on code and off code just because you're not FBA and then be laying in bed with white folks. We can't be doing that. I fully agree with you on that. I just got into it with other FBAs about that because it's up to FBAs to hold other FBAs to a standard. So I'm not gonna say that just because you're a non-FBA, makes you off code or that all FBA are off on code. I'm not going to say that at all. I don't speak in absolutes. However, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say maybe you didn't mean to, but some of the things that you're implying is just not correct. Or some of the way you said it wasn't the correct way to say it, because you do have, as Kid Gravity admitted earlier in this conversation, you do have a lot of non-FBAs who disrespect and who violate, and that has gone unchecked for really generations. Up until now that we're starting to actually check that and we're starting to actually gatekeep things, then is all, why is FBA being like this? Why is FBA attacking me like this? And sometimes it is overreactions from certain groups of people, but we have to understand how we got to this point. We got to this point because the tether class, not all, but the tether class of non-FBA have been able to get away with murder without being checked by the group collectively. Now, as far as FBA, we don't allow that. We don't allow the coons to go around being unchecked. They do what they do, but we check them every single time. We put them on blast every single time. That doesn't happen with non-FBAs, not for the most part. So when everybody start addressing the flaws in their own group and start correcting the flaws in their own group, then we can move the needle forward and we can progress as a black family, collective black family. Because we are a black family collectively, y'all are cousins from the motherland and from the Caribbean. But we can't do that if we're the only ones who are supposed to be held accountable for what our people do. And
Press Wilson, go ahead.
I would like to just respond to that, if you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. So you are incorrect on some areas, and I'm just going to drop some heavy stuff on you. First of all, there's a certain class of Caribbeans that maybe my family moves among. And my father's been dead now since 93. My mother is 82 years old. So you're talking about a whole generation of Caribbean people that moves in a different class than these non-FBAs that you're talking about. And I know who you're talking about. I mean, right now, truthfully, I'm kind of technically suspended in Twitter because I cape for Black American people, and I had to check this Asian woman, and I, as a matter of fact, my name is on some Asian news wire right now because I checked her so hard. I will check, and I have checked a lot of non-FBA people on their bullshit, and I have written, opinion pages on some of the greasy shit that a lot of these non-FBA people. These brand new Caribbeans that come here. They come from adverse poverty in the island, and they don't know no damn better when they come to this country, and they think they don't have the appreciation of what this country is offering them and how they're able to get it. They don't. It's a whole different class. Okay, so when you talk about you mentioned about holding accountable. Look, brother, I've been in rooms in Clubhouse where they called me a motherfucking bitch. They called me my mother, who they don't know, a whore, a hoe. They've called my parents outside their names, and I've had FBA men, black men, sit in the room and don't even defend me, just based on a woman's situation. From another black man to another, they don't even want to talk and correct them on their behavior. So it goes both ways. I can tell you a whole lot of money that was donated to a particular organization, okay, in over $1,000, and the money has been abused. I can tell you about buying a very unusual audiobook and sharing it with FBA, only to find out that it was sold back to eBay and had the money put in their pocket. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of accountability. I live in California. My family's here in New Jersey. I flew out here the other day to come to the New Jersey reparations, which I was very disappointed in, but I wanted to hear what was going on. So it's like, when people talk about non-FBA and they talk about that they can't be down. Look, my parents came from another country. They are very, very appreciative and honor the people that shared their blood soaked onto the ground, because they knew without that they couldn't come here. So it's not all non-FBA. It's a certain class of people, and it also has a lot to do with when they came to this country as well. A
And
lot of them
also,
came when it was during Jim Crow. Major influence, different perspective. So like I said to you, I don't worry. For me personally, I don't worry about people who are concerned about me being on FBA. They can check me, use their burner phone and go into different rooms, listen to what I say. I've always been consistent because I live my truth. And there's a big difference. So whenever I get a chance to, at least for me, I can't speak for everybody else. And those that know me, especially from Clubhouse days, will know and can testify. I'm always ready to check. I'm
yes,
always
man.
ready
But
to check.
but we also got to remember too, a lot of that what you've gone through, I went through as well on Clubhouse, and a lot of those, I guess we'll just say tethers, they bring that Clubhouse mentality over here now. Because I mean, I've been back on Twitter, but I've also monitored Twitter. I didn't see a lot of this on Twitter until that Clubhouse crowd started coming over here.
That's so true.
Yeah, because they used to talk that dumb shit over there, but here was the thing with Clubhouse. They get to be in their own little groups and everything, and they get to have these conversations, and most times, unless you search for it or know somebody in there, you would never see it. But now they're coming over here thinking that Twitter's a safe haven, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in life, because Twitter is open, is like open source web browsing.
Kid, let me just
Everybody's
tell
gonna
you how
see
deep this
everything
shit
you're
is.
doing.
Let me tell you how deep this shit was with me. They literally threatened my life. I kid you not. Like, literally threatened my life. I'm a real estate agent in Los Angeles. They were going to follow me. My shit is public. Follow me and literally threatening my life for no reason. Just that I'm a non-FBA, and I just would not allow them to disrespect me that way. That's how heavy it was. And I was like in shock because I'm from New York. I'm like, really? Like, is it this deep? It was all new to me.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
it
this is
was
a
deep.
world. This is a world that I had to unfortunately really experience. But you just like you said, you gotta just be set in your convictions, and the right people will vouch for you.
No
Like
doubt.
like when I came in, I mean, I got a lot of stares with what I was saying because I was defending FBA. But a lot. There's one thing about FBAs we all got to know. They will thoroughly check your paperwork.
Oh,
Marcel
And
Dixon is a perfect example of that. They
no
will
doubt.
check your paperwork.
No
and
doubt
just
about it.
know that it's not you. I think part of what this room is about is about changing a behavior of a group of people, not just one.
Correct.
And um I don't feel like you're trying to be off code or anything, but we can't just like go by
No.
just one or two people. We're trying to change behavior
Right.
of thousands and thousands and millions of people who are just off code and
Absolutely
promoting off code behavior. So
drives me crazy.
it's
It drives me crazy
yeah.
because it just
Mhm.
they don't know. My father's from Cuba. He was like, no, you're not learning Spanish. You're here in an English speaking country. Listen. It's a whole mindset. It's a whole mentality. But it's a problem not just with Caribbeans. It's a problem with immigration. Period. They have no respect for Black American history. It's a rich history, man. It is it is a rich history. It's a
You
beautiful.
know why? Because they're in the. I think FBA can back me up on this, and I'm going to be careful how I say this, but I think right now with the FBAs and what they fought for, they're almost in the benefit stage right now, where when they talk, people listen. things get done. I mean, not to the frequency that they want, but things are getting done because we know back in the day, you had to move heaven and hell in other countries just to get something or some kind of acknowledgement. But nowadays, we have all these leaders in the FBA community bringing light to subjects that everybody's taking umbrage to and really starting to think, maybe this ain't right. So I think the Caribbeans are coming in now and realizing that they can be symbiotes off this and they could say whatever they want. Nobody's going to check them. But now, like Afro said, they're checking it. And especially with you and I and others, we're saying, yeah, you know what? They're right. You can't do that. I think they're lashing out now, but this is good. Let them lash out because once you lash out and get your energy out, the only thing you can do with your body is listen. So this is good. We just got to keep on their necks. So you're doing the right thing, Cress. I'm doing the right thing. All the other non-FBAs that are on code are doing the right thing. We just got to keep going. I mean, we can't, like I said, we can't get to the old people. The old people are stuck in their ways. We got to get to the younger generations, the ones coming behind us, because those are the ones that are going to be able to have the gall and the energy to change and get that message out to the next generations. So let's keep it rolling, though. That was a very spirited conversation. I like that. CJ Willis, go ahead, and then I'm gonna have what do you name? Bless talk. But go ahead, CJ. CJ, you can unmute your mic. Okay, CJ, we'll come back to you. Bless, go ahead. Yes, everybody must be eating right now. Okay.
I can hear you, brother. Quick question for you, Kid Gravity.
Yes, sir.
Have you seen any Jamaicans besides Caribbeans, not just Jamaicans, Caribbeans besides yourself, coming out, speaking out, saying that they did not create hip hop? And
Yeah.
if not, why? Have you seen that? You haven't?
Okay. Well, I have a brother in here, brother Rich. He's Haitian. He echoes the same sentiment that the FBAs and myself do. And he's from New York as well. So he's seen the early stages of hip hop just like I did. He can attest to that. You can go down my timeline. I have non-FBA people say every time somebody brings that up, they're in their mentions giving them that work. We're out here. By all accounts, we're small numbers. So this is what Crest and I were saying. And Nikki were saying, we gotta find all of us, got to group up, get a unified message, and go out there and tell these non-FBAs, shut the fuck up. Because it's gonna get to a point now that they're making it harder for us that are on code. We have to keep answering for them. I'm tired of answering for them. At a certain point, I'm not going to defend them no more because I'm still trying to defend them because they're cousins. But I'm at that point right now. I'm like, listen, y'all about to go swim in them waters by yourself. I'm not playing Baywatch here with y'all no more. Trying to save y'all because Brother Rich checked me on that a couple of months ago. That was during one of our debates that I was trying to save somebody that he was debating against. That I can't do that no more. I gotta let people feel it from now on. So that's where I'm at with it. But we're out here. But like I said, our numbers are very small right now. So we have to just keep finding these people and getting them together and making sure that they're really on code and then going outside and say, listen, we gotta stump for these FBAs because we ride with them and they see we're genuine, they will ride for us. And
Can I,
that's how you build these coalitions where we can actually get things done.
Kid?
Because we've been riding with them with this reparations. The least we can do is check our cousins and our sisters and brothers and tell them, stop saying this hip hop bullshit. Y'all got enough problems in the countries that we come from and our lineages than worrying about where a genre of music comes from.
Kid, can I just say something that just was messaged to me and just want to show the ignorance?
Just put it in a jumbotron
No,
if
I
you
can't
can.
because I've been limited. I told you
Oh,
I cursed out this Asian woman who inserted herself about
is
reparations.
that the doctor chick?
Yes, I wore her as
Okay, I think I
Oh
did
my
your
God,
comment.
her.
I
I
wore.
did
As a
see. I
matter of fact,
see your
my whole
comment.
moniker was
Let me
on
see if I can find it.
Asian news something or another. They like I don't, and I'm very proud of it. I don't give a shit. She's too goddamn fresh. Anyway, There was a guy, I don't know if he's in this room, but he wrote me a thing. His name is Ty Symbol, Ty, and then CMBL. He says to me on my thing that I can't respond, but he says to me that he's surprised that I'm half Jamaican and half Cuban, and my moniker, I'm using Dr. Francis Cress Welsing fan club as my Twitter handle. Why would that be a surprise? I was born in New York City, and whether I was born in New York City or born in the world, that I am a huge, huge aficionado of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I believe everything that she has written and spoken of 40 and 50 years ago. It is like she's a prophet. It was like she saw the future. Why wouldn't I? Why are you surprised? I don't even know if he's even in here. And that's to show you the ignorance. Why is he surprised that I am a big fan of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing? I don't know. She called herself, a black supremacist. I refer to myself as that too because I believe in everything that she said, and it's come true. So to this person, Ty Symbol, if he's in the room, why would you even write that? To me, that's a show of ignorance. I am a huge. You can't tell me nothing about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing.
Well,
Hey Ty, if you in the building, I want you to DM me. I might have another debate up here. This might be a debate topic,
I don't
but
know if this person's in the room, but I would love to ask why. You're surprised? Why are you
oh no,
surprised?
they're there. Wait a minute. They're here. Okay. Let me see. All right, go ahead, Afro. My fault. I cut you off.
no. I'm just saying, because certain people are messaging me. Some people who've been waiting with their hands up for a little bit don't have that much time. If we can like at least briefly get to a couple of the hands too, so everybody can get their opinion voiced on the subject. Because I feel like Ty and Cress Wilson might go on for a couple minutes.
Yeah. Y'all two DM me. I'm gonna set up a debate on this. I want to get this popping, but let's
Uh,
keep it moving.
and two, we have too many people in the.
Yeah, yeah, in the queue. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that. The hard truth. Go ahead.
Hey, peace, family. How everybody doing? Black first, black first. Um, I'm just gonna say this. I grew up in New York too. That's where I was born. That's where I was raised. It's really Long Island because people don't like to count Long Island as New York. But God damn it, that's where I was born and raised at. And as far as hip hop goes, it's the reason I'm
Long
not
Island
jumping
is
up
New
and
York,
down.
brother. You good, brother. You good. Long Island, New York, brother. You good. You good.
Yeah, try asking somebody from Brooklyn that they're gonna tell you hell no.
I'm from Brooklyn. That's what I'm saying. I'm from Brooklyn. You
Oh
good.
shit. Well,
I know we
hey,
grew
shout
up in
out
that
to you,
time,
bro.
bro.
Shout out
Real
to you.
talk.
But on the real, the reason I don't jump up and down and dig in the trenches when it comes to these debates is to me it's kind of asinine. Like I see personally, and as someone who my body just feels a certain way when I hear certain Caribbean sounds, dance hall music, and stuff like that. But I've never associated that with hip hop in no shape, form, or fashion, right? There's nothing that I ever saw in hip hop that made me say, "Oh man, that originated from elsewhere." No, not at all. Could I go out on a limb and say that maybe there were people from other cultures that came in and lent some of their influence to the whole thing? Yeah, you could make that argument all day long. But hip hop is an American, a Black American genre and to me it's really silly to entertain um, the idea, the thought that it was originated or born or birthed out of any other geographical location. Now, having said that, obviously we have these rooms and they've been more prevalent. So yeah, we're gonna have to step up and actually start swatting these people down. But it's really silly to have these conversations or to have these conversations for something that's common sense. And as a matter of fact, and I'm just gonna land my plane with this because they calling me back out to work. But when it comes to dance hall, reggae, anything, and maybe you guys have noticed. As a matter of fact, I know you guys have noticed it because I have. You will always see something sprout off in America first.
and then you'll have some sort of remix to it or some alternate version of it, especially in dancehall. It comes later on down the pipeline. So it's clear, in what regards the influence goes, right? So that's just my whole 2 cents on the matter. Anybody else trying to claim something else is full of shit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, let's keep it moving. Like I said, let me get She Means Business. Go ahead.
Hey everybody, thank you. This has been a great room. I'm so fired up to see this room because one of the things that is happening that I want to just kind of wake up. I know you guys probably touched on this a little bit, but I want to just go a little bit deeper into it and wake up the fact that we are in the middle of a history rewrite as we speak and live right now. We know how they rewrote history in the past, but we are literally living through that right now. And the thing with these tethers is they are being used to, help accomplish that. So when you look at the bigger picture, I want us to understand that a lot of the stuff that's going on online is a marketing campaign. They are trying to create a narrative to separate us and remove us for our creations, our adventures, our culture, everything. So this is not just a coincidence because think about it. 20 years ago, nobody was saying this foolishness. This is all new stuff. And if you kind of look at, what they're doing with our music in general, whether it's hip hop and R&B, they are suppressing our talented artists because let's be real, music sucks right now, but the talent is out there. We have some young people that are amazingly talented, got that same soul, fire, talented on the mic, all of that stuff that we are accustomed to, but they're not getting promoted because the music industry is trying to usurp us and remove us so that they can do what they've always done, which is take over our music. So R&B and hip hop, this is what they're in the midst of doing right now. This is why it's been such a big deal for them to make Eminem the face of hip hop and the best artist and all this other crap, basically doing an Elvis 2.0. They're doing the same thing with R&B. They're not promoting our talent. Like Stephanie Mills talked about that on the Sister Circle, how, they want R&B music, but they don't want it from us, right? So they'll promote Adele and all these other people that we know don't even light a candle to the talent that we have had in the past and that we have right now. And so just inside of this conversation, I want to just wake that up, that this is a bigger overall, picture that's going on in terms of them trying to, essentially steal our culture and our music and create an avenue to where they have complete control over it. And they have all of their little, white artists and all their little foreign artists that they use as props. Another thing that's really happening, which somebody also touched on, is the fact that these other, even like Asians, the Asians are making a big deal about wanting to be included and stuff like that in media and entertainment and this and that, but when you see them, they're not representing their culture. They're doing their version of us. So and even with breakdancing, I heard breakdancing was supposed to be in the Summer Olympics coming up, and we all know that is something sorry, my earpiece fell out. We all know that's something that we, created. So this is a bigger plot that's going on here. And these people, these tethers, it's all part of this online marketing to create a narrative, because people who were not born into, hip hop during the golden ages and stuff like that, a lot of the younger people are completely disconnected because one of the things they did was demonize hip hop. It pissed me off so much when I would see a couple years ago when they started really using our hip hop music to literally sell everything and all the advertisements. And I was like, these are the same people that demonized our music, made it seem like it was all about drugs and this, that, and the other. When we all know who grew up with it, that hip hop had so many different messages and varieties of music, and content. And so when they labeled it all one thing, all negative, and then 10 years later, they're using it to literally sell everything. literally rebranding our fashions, our hairstyles, our, like literally everything, and putting another face on it. And so, what I want to encourage our people to do, because a lot of times, we're caught up with the day-to-day grind, trying to live, survive. We've got reparations on the plate that we're focused on getting. We've got a lot of stuff that we're trying to do. So sometimes music and art gets lost in the shadows of importance. But us coming together now and gatekeeping our culture is really, really important, and making sure that we're passing this history down to our kids, because that's one of the ways that they're able to make progress with removing us from our stuff, is because the kids are disconnected. And so when these other people come along saying this foolishness, they don't even know to check them, because what they grew up with is a totally different scene than what we grew up with. We had Soul Train, we had, Apollo, we had Arsenio Hall show. We had so much of our culture surrounding us, block parties, regular parties, the club. Like, we had our culture, our radio stations are being, we're being pushed out of our radio stations. So they're sometimes not even playing our stuff anymore, depending on where you live. So all of these things are coming together and creating a different dynamic for the kids that are growing up in that, who are not able to experience our culture the same way we were, where it was just readily available. So it's up to us to really make sure that we are giving our kids that experience, sharing that knowledge with them. They have so many things online right now where you can pull up old videos of Soul Train. Apollo, is on a lot of streaming channels. Make sure you're taking advantage of those things. If you still have your VHS, pull out your VHS and put it in. And because we used to tape these shows back in the day. Make sure you're sharing that with your kids. So, and this type of stuff is actually what inspired me to start a Black American Music History Club, where we do once a month. We talk about different, topics inside of our music to bridge that gap and to give that experience. So tonight we're actually going to be talking about neo soul. So if anybody wants to join us, you're more than welcome. But I think so many of you in this room for just literally laying down the history and the importance of everything. And also, I just want to say, a lot of Jamaicans don't even, like the ones fresh off the boat, they don't even like hip hop. So it's hilarious to even have this conversation. And it's like I told Pete Rock when he was saying some slick stuff. I said, you know what? We're the ones, the foundational Black Americans are the ones that's actually going to be upholding your legacy. These people are only saying something right now because they just want to have a jab and a one up on us, but they don't actually respect you and uphold your legacy, because they don't even like hip hop like that. So, this is the stuff that is going on, but thank you.
To be fair, man, as a Jamaican, to be fair, there is a reason why they don't like hip hop. When we eat jerk chicken, it messes with our hearing because we have to chew very loud. So you gotta I got the cover for my Jamaicans on that. Even though I said earlier I'm not gonna cover for them no more. There's a scientific reason why they don't like hip hop. But we gonna keep it moving. Davy Jetson, go ahead, and then I'm gonna get indigenous, and then I'm gonna allow Ty Symbol to get off. But go ahead.
Yo, what's going on, my brothers, my sisters? Black first always. So I like to talk about problem and then solution. Problem and then solution. Okay, so when it comes down to the music, anybody who, of course, everybody's on their phone or on their computer, take a journey with me. So let's go to Google, right? Type in first hip hop artists. All the first and predominantly all the top 10 links are going to say something about DJ Cool. And then right after that, it says 18-year-old immigrant from Jamaica, right? Then they might say, where's the other one? Then they might say Coke LaRock is known for being the first rapper to ever spit rhymes after teaming up with DJ Cool. Okay, so the problem is not necessarily non-FBA or FBA debating this information. It's about what's being pushed by the big tech companies, by being pushed by certain people who
who want to take over holidays, who want to take over not just holidays, but take over the minority grants that go to the community. That's what it's about. All right. So as a black community, that's FBA, we already have a strong percentage of black brothers and sisters that are gatekeeping, that are keeping people on code and checking people when they are off code. When it comes to people who are non-FBA, let's say the percentage of FBA people is 20% gatekeeping, 80% actually doing work, actually putting actions behind what they speak. I mean, having community events, having fundraisers, giveaways, back to school bashes, whatever the case may be. That is what that 80% on. Okay, because we already have strong people gatekeeping. When it comes to non-FBA, I feel like their percentages, can change how they see fit. What I believe is fit is for it to be less people gatekeeping because we already have on code gatekeepers and more doing. Like, I love conversations. I will debate the fuck out of anybody in this world. You get what I'm saying? But when it comes to the question of what actions have you put in, I've gotten blocked by a lot of people and I do not know how. You get what I'm saying? I feel like I come respectful, I come intelligent, but I always come black first. All right. So the databases that are spewing this fucking filthy information is something that needs to be corrected also with actions. Okay. So when it comes down to people doing actions, there's a lot of people right now who I can name about 35 different people I met off Twitter within the last 3 weeks that are actively building something. What if it comes down to the day where they say, we're going to give you reparations, but you have to attach to your lineage? But Google, Facebook, Amazon, and all these different database platforms, they wipe their data. And we have no accurate lineage, no accurate information, or no accurate history that we can attach to. We're fucked. You get what I'm saying? But then I guarantee some of the same people who are off code, who around here cooning, clap dancing, booty cheek dancing in front of these white supremacists, they will be the ones that happen to have that information. You get what I'm saying? So when it comes down to this, man, I appreciate this conversation. It needs to be had. When it comes down to FBA, non-FBA, if you're on code, you are on code. And you're going to put words and actions to it. Man, I appreciate y'all brothers for this space. I'll be here for this tie symbol conversation because I am definitely interested in that. Black first. Yes, sir. Let's keep it moving because I'm about to shut this space down. So Indigenous and Thai symbol, y'all going to be the last two. So Indigenous, go ahead.
Hi, I would like to give respect to everybody in the room and say thank you for having me in the room. Um, the the music of hip hop and reggae, I'm not too informed on that. I like all genres of music, but here lately, I learned some things that was very disturbing to me. I didn't know that Africans, Nigerians, or people from Africa had a disdain for us. I'm actually a foundational Black American. Uh, I use foundational Black. The reason why I use my name, I have to explain my name because I believe that was one of the things that had me being shut out of a couple of rooms. So indigenous, I feel, is a person that's been here for a very, very long time on U.S. soil. Nigger is where I got off of my mother's birth certificate. I mean, her death certificate. So that's what that comes in at. I don't want to take up too much time. I'm willing to learn. And I was actually intrigued by the young man that spoke before me. So if I could I yield the rest of my time for him? And I land my plane.
Ty Symbol, you can unmute your mic.
Hello, everyone. Ty Symbol from Brooklyn, New York, FBA. And I had addressed Dr. Frances Cress Wilson. And what stuck out with me as it pertained to her is when Afro Elite said,
Cress Wilson, not Dr. Francis Cress Wilson. I just got to make that clear for people just coming in the room.
yes, not the actual Dr. Frances Cress Wilson. But what stood out to me is when Afro Elite said to her, a lot of immigrants do not check their own. And from her, I sense silence, like I'm not checking my own. So, and also, like Brother Tariq Nasheed always say, we cannot allow anyone to be our spokesperson and they have a double allegiance. She has a triple allegiance, actually. She's Jamaican, she's Cuban, and she was born in America. And it appears to be that she could be using that name, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, to hide behind not checking people. That's why I said it's interesting that she's using that screen name. There's not going to be any debate. That's just what I said, and I'm landing my plane.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right, folks. Before I end this off, I'd just like to thank everybody that came through. I appreciate everybody's insights, and hopefully people will see this space and listen to it and listen to the sentiments of FBAs, most importantly, and the non-FBAs such as myself, and why this rhetoric of hip hop is dangerous. Because it's not only because it's the music genre, it also goes into what Brother Marcel was speaking on earlier in the room. This has socio-political ramifications because we're seeing that now. We're seeing this with the reparation. Everybody's trying to bogart their way into it. No, it's for FBAs. What non-FBAs should be doing is one of two things. One, if you're going to help them. Get the blueprint. Once they get reparations, take it to your country. Jump on the plane. Since you non-FBA people love to travel everywhere because you think FBAs don't travel or leave their hoods. Go to your country, go to your leaders and say, this is how they got it. How are you going to get it for my family? That's what you need to do. If you're not going to be for it, shut up about it. Please. Because your voice gets amplified. The FBA voices don't get amplified. They need to make sure that every voice is highlighted with this reparations talk. So once it happens, they can feel confident that they did everything in their power to get there without much opposition. But again, this is going to have socio-political ramifications, subjects like this. So it's incumbent on us as non-FBA to push back on this. And that's number one, we have to go to the cousins. We got to tell them, cut it out. Because we know FBA is petty. They invented and revolutionized the roast game, and they are petty. They will fuck around and they will copyright the West Indian Day Parade in Brooklyn. They will do it. I know them. Y'all know how Tariq is. He can be petty like that. Don't bring that energy to us, please. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Now, before I go, I put some stuff in the Jumbotron. There's a lot of information in there. Also, some links to YouTube channels. Please follow the brothers on there, Afro Lee, Tori and Rain, myself. Get with everybody so we can continue having these conversations, so we can build up that YouTube algorithm so more voices in the new Black media can get highlighted, so these conversations can be put for not only us, but for the next generations. Also, educate yourselves with these topics so we can go teach the younger generation. And also, again, appreciate everyone coming through and giving their opinions, dropping the knowledge. And all I have to also say is our sister Nikki, who's co-hosting me, she's doing her space now. That's why a lot of people started leaving and going over there. If you can, I know some of y'all talked, some of y'all were listening. Hell, leave it on in the background. Let's get the numbers up. So click that first link in the Jumbotron. Go over there, support her because she does a lot of work co-hosting these spaces and getting information out. So please do that for us. And And yeah, everybody else enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay cool out there because I know some of y'all temperatures I saw while I was scrolling through. Y'all temperatures are disgusting right now. I'm in Atlanta. It's like 94 degrees and it's damn near 7 o'clock. Uh, but I'm not going back up north. So up north is like 63 degrees. So shout out to y'all. And before I go, Afro Elite, thank you again, brother, for taking over the co-hosting duties. I appreciate it. And for that, there will be no Chicago slander for a week.
Oh, I actually just wanted to say that we need to appreciate Chicago pizza and New
We
York
not finna do,
pizza.
all right, you know what, ma'am? Okay, brother Afro.
That
You and
deep
I
dish
might have to do a
crust,
show on
that
this.
deep dish
Chicago
crust
versus
is
New York.
good though.
We might have to do Chicago versus New York culture. We might have to do a live show on this.
I
Y'all
will. I
Chicago
will.
cats are real, y'all real bold. Y'all got to explain Chicago to me. I was only there for like a weekend. Y'all got to explain Chicago to me.
New
Well, there's
York
a
got the
reason
best
why we
pizza.
vote, sir. Just letting you know that.
What's that? Wait, who said what about their pizza?
Oh, the disrespect is gonna stop.
Oh,
You
I'm sure it, I
jealous,
hope so
jealous,
because
and we all know that.
I heard y'all use Lake Michigan water.
I heard y'all got cat-sized rats.
Yes, we do, and they're in Chinatown. We try to keep them away from the black neighborhoods.
It depends on your mood for the day. New York pizza's good. Chicago pizza's good.
I'm sorry, I can't eat a 13-pound pizza. I can't do it.
I can't eat a pizza that's been carried around the streets by a rat.
No, you gotta be careful. You don't take the one from the rat. Take the one from the pigeon. That's how you gotta do it.
Oh yeah, the
All
pigeon.
right, but anyway, let me stop with the jokes. Please go over to Sister Nikki's page over there and support her thing her room because she's doing an important discussion. And yeah, folks, appreciate this. And it will be on my YouTube channel, probably in 2 parts tomorrow, so and Friday. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's there also, K Gravity Beyond. You can just search for it on YouTube. Afro Elite, Torian Rain. You will see a lot of the people that you saw in here in the comment sections of those and Beatzilla as well. So yeah, like I said, stay cool out there, stay safe, watch your 12, 3, 6, 9, and peace, love, and reparations. Be one.